Welcome to another fun-filled Friday edition of Second City Sports. We're live in living color right here on Sports Zone Chicago, along with Miss Lakeena McGee, which is she. I am Cindy Brown. Hey, that's me. You can follow yours truly on the Twitter and the IG at SidKid80. Once again, that's SidKid80. That's SIDKID80. That's SIDKID80.
You follow me at Lakeena McGee on the Twitter and at Lakeena McGee on the IG.
Make sure you download that Sports Zone Chicago app today, wherever you get your apps. You want to know why? Because we said so, that's why. And also, you can catch our other live shows that are airing throughout the week. So if you happen to miss them, you can go back and watch them and listen to them at your own leisure. Make sure you download that Sports Zone Chicago app today. Speaking of Sports Zone Chicago, make sure you follow us on all social media platforms on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and YouTube. Once again, please follow Sports Zone Chicago on all social media platforms. If you want to subscribe to our podcast, which we know you've been doing already, tell your friends and tell your neighbors, tell your strangers, the haters, everybody you know that you can subscribe to our podcast at Warr or Anchor. We are available on all podcast platforms, including the iHeartRadio app. Make sure you type this in those search engine boxes on those podcast platforms. You ready? WARR on Anchor. Once again, that's Warr on Anchor on all podcast platforms. And while you're at it, please give Warr Media a follow at WARR Media on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and YouTube. Once again, that Warr Media on all social media platforms, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and YouTube. And thank you very much in advance for your support.
Like, share, subscribe, and tell your friends.
We are unapologetically fun, and we have very different opinions. You have any different opinions during our 2-hour extravaganza, as we call the Sports Talk Radio Show, you can always hit us up in the comment section at Sports Zone Chicago's Facebook page or at Sports Zone Chicago on YouTube. Type in questions and comments in the comment section. Lakeena will get them up on the screen for you. But if you decide to troll and or do something stupid, I'm giving Lakeena full power to give you fools to Bill and Butte.
Bye-bye.
I love when she says that. But before we begin, we must remind you that you can also catch Sports Zone Chicago now available on Roku TV. That's right. Catch Sports Zone Chicago now available on Roku TV. So no more excuses. Celebrate with the squad and get with the program. Sports Zone Chicago is now on Roku TV. If you already have a Roku television, just tap on the Sports app and download Sports Zone Chicago through that avenue. If you don't have a Roku TV, you have a bunch of handheld devices laying around. iPhone, iPad, iTouch, your personal PC, your Chromebook like I'm using right now. Just download that Roku TV app and access Sports Zone Chicago through that venture. So no more excuses. Celebrate with the squad and get with the program. Sports Zone Chicago is now available on Roku TV 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 days a year, live and on demand.
Anywhere you want, whatever device like Sid said, so you can check us out, whether it's noon as it is here in Chicago, or at 2 a.m. when you're off work. So.
And you know we will provide. Excuse me.
we got a busy show lined up for you guys today, and just about 20 minutes from now, just under 20 minutes from now, we got our girl Kaitlin Sharkey now with WGN Chicago. We'll talk Bears, of course, and y'all see all the crazy rumors. Also, 2 spring training pitchers and catchers have reported already, and also other stuff too. We may talk about the Bulls, we might not. I think for her sake, we probably won't. But we'll have coming up at the bottom of the hour. And of course, it's that time, folks. Now that the NBA is on the All-Star break, if you're a Bulls fan, thank you, Lord. We've got a great panel to discuss. Well, we probably won't keep the Bulls talk to a minimum, but also other NBA happenings and such as the All-Star Weekend commences down over in Salt Lake City.
And we get them to convince me to be excited about All-Star Weekend. Right now, Lakeena, I don't know about you, but usually I get the juices for the whole weekend. But right now, I'm not feeling it. I need you and the crew's help at the top of this next hour to help me do that, because right now I'm not feeling the juice. That's just me.
Well, yeah, some other stuff too. We'll probably get to all that. So we got a great panel to discuss the NBA midseason and the Bulls with you. So you're gonna have to tune in to find out who they are. We're not gonna tell you who they are right this moment. That's a little bit of a teaser there for you, Sid. But right now, let's talk some college hoops. We'll get that out the way. And busy week for our local teams. Unfortunately, Illinois loses to Penn State by 20 on the road. You know what? It's one of those things where I think this is sort of like, it's sort of like state college has been kind of like a house of horrors for Illinois. So, unfortunately, the Penn State get them again. But also too, on the flip side, Northwestern upset Indiana. They swept that series with their resume. I think they're kind of on their way there, but their last 5 games, we'll get to that in a second. But they're, as long as they don't have a complete collapse, they should get back into turf for the first time since I think 2017. So for me, I mean, look, I don't think they're there yet. I think they still need to get those couple of extra wins just to be on the safe side and not lose in the first day of the Big Ten tournament. But looking good for Northwestern so far. So among those two, what kind of like surprised you and such?
I'll go with the Northwestern first. They're now 19-7 on the season. As I brought up the question to you on our last show on Monday, Lakeena, with that win against Purdue at home on last Sunday, could they carry this momentum into the next game? The answer to that question was yes. They came back from a 21-point deficit behind a huge home crowd there in Evanston to help them beat Indiana. I think they are for real, Lakeena. Like you said, they need to stack up a couple more wins, which I think they'll get to over 20 wins easily before the Big Ten tournament takes place in a couple of weeks at the UC. Chris Collins has done a nice job. I heard him on 670 Score with Lawrence Holmes and Dan Bernstein, I believe it was yesterday. He was talking about the attitude of this team, his team taking on his mentality of, we talked about before, no one's taking them seriously. They people expected to play a certain style of basketball. They still get after you defensively, as we saw these last two games, but they can score a little bit too. Not to make fun of this man's name, Boo Booey, folks. Look him up. He's Northwestern's best scorer and one of their best players. He's been showing up, especially these last two games.
Might have got a little bit of a push off with the jumper as the time expired for Northwestern, but what can I say? But I know may have gotten away with one there, but yeah, I mean, look, I mean, he's probably one of he might be all Big Ten, this year. Well, when they announce that in a few weeks, but yeah, I mean, look, I mean, I'm not there at Northwestern yet. I mean, they've had a couple of baffling losses, so like I said, I mean, looking at their schedule for their last five, I mean. Like I said, there are about three of these teams that are probably going to want their revenge. They have, hold on if I can get it up real quick. They got Iowa coming up on Sunday, so I know Iowa's going to want their revenge. Illinois is going to want their revenge as well. They've beaten them as well.
I think they'll lose to Illinois.
Okay, they got to go to Maryland.
I think they'll beat Maryland.
Okay, they host Penn State. I mean, again, you never know what Penn State. I mean, look what they did to Illinois, and also they finish up at Rutgers, so. They could win 4 out of. They could probably win a couple of these, but again, the Big Ten has been so weird. I mean, you never really know. So I'm kind of, as long as you don't have a complete collapse, Northwestern. I know a lot of Northwestern fans are kind of on that high, but look, you can't. You gotta take it one game at a time, and then look, you don't want to be that team that kind of just lose it, because I've seen it happen in the last with a couple of teams. We'll mention that when we talk about the rest of around the nation college hoops, but. I mean, look, they've been impressive. Like I said, they depend on three a little bit too much for my taste, though. And I don't like teams like that, especially when you come to the dance. Yeah, you get hot, but you get cold too. And I've seen it happen multiple times myself. So, we'll see.
Yeah, you just reading off that schedule. All they have to do is win 2 games to get over 20 wins. Right now, they're at 19. Like you said, they can win 2, possibly 3 games, but that's all they need to do to wrap up the regular season. Win 2 or 3 games. And that you're for sure in the NCAA tournament. And this is before you get to the conference tournament, as I mentioned, come up in a couple weeks at the UC. So Northwestern has a good chance. They just had to keep the momentum going. As I asked you on Monday, Lakeena, I was worried about the young teams like that. They get a big win. They let it get to their heads. Start reading the press clippings. Everybody patting you on the back, and you lose focus. Right now, this team hasn't lost focus yet.
We'll see. Now going into Illinois' loss to Penn State. I mean, that was kind of, like I said. I mean, they lose by 12. They actually made a little bit, try to kind of. They got some garbage baskets late, but they struggled from the field. Like I said, but I think Penn State just had an amazing shooting. Probably their best. Definitely their best showing shooting wise so far in probably all season long. I mean, they've been kind of up and down. I'm talking about Penn State.
Yeah, Jalen Pickett with 41 points. You couldn't stop him.
Yeah, a career high 41 points for him. So he wasn't gonna. He was 15 for 20 from the field, and 5 from 9 from 3. So he was just on a tear. So that was going to be hard for him to stop. Probably, I think, one of the highest scoring for a Penn State player in a long time. So yeah, they weren't going to stop him. I mean, Illinois, they only 7 for 27 from 3. Like I said, that's a problem if you're Illinois. So, and you can't go far in the tournament that way. And come out with Pickett in the hot shooting. I mean, that's a recipe for disaster.
Yeah, and also for Illinois, these two players must step up offensively for them to go far in the tournament. That's Coleman Hawkins, who only had 12, and Terrence Shannon, he had 20. The stat line looked nice, but I want him to be more aggressive. I talked about him the last couple of weeks. He's starting to step up, but I need those two players to do a little bit more, and they got to get a little bit more production off their bench. And someone please help Dane Danger in the rebounding department. He's the only one that's been getting those defensive rebounds for Illinois. I need somebody else besides him to help them out on the defensive boards.
Yeah, that's been a problem for Illinois, especially with all the struggling and such. So, it's a little bit crazy. Like I said, pick is 41. I think, just the first time that someone from Penn State has scored 41. You got to go way back to 1961 and Gene Harris. So, and especially this is most by a Penn State player in a conference game, in a Big Ten conference game. So they joined the Big Ten back in '93. So, yeah, it definitely a conference high in that sense. But yeah, I mean, I'm not worried about Illinois. I mean, I think they can finish up well. I think they're in the tournament. But I think if you try to get a higher seed by racking up a couple more wins, we'll see.
Yep, we'll see. Sticking with the Big Ten for just a couple minutes, Lakeena. Michigan, Wisconsin on Tuesday. Michigan had their chances on the road. Juwan Howard and crew. They need to stack up the wins in order them to stay out of the bubble. Right now, their bubble watch is on the heartbeat right now, if I'm saying that correctly. On not a flat line, but pretty damn close to it. They lose a tough one to Wisconsin, 64-59.
Yeah, that was a tough win for them. And look, I think Michigan. There are some people that are Michigan are saying that maybe should Juwan Howard is on the hot seat. I think it might be a little bit much, but I kind of feel like this Michigan team has underachieved this year, so I can kind of see why some Michigan fans are feeling that, okay, should we be a little bit worried? Should Juwan Howard be worried about his job security? I don't know. I mean, I don't think so, but I'm just, it's just one of those things where, it's just a tough season. These things happen. I know they've had a couple of injuries and such. It just they've been struggling shooting. That's been their problem. So
yeah.
Now going into stay with the Big Ten, again before we go to the rest of the nation, Purdue loses back-to-back against Maryland, 68-54. Jameer Young, who's one of Maryland's top players. If you haven't know too much about him, you guys should check him out. He had 20 points leading the way for Maryland and Purdue, both versus ranked opponents, and they're the 15 the last 20 seasons lose back-to-back games against ranked opponents while being in the top 3. So, not a good showing. If you look back on it, they probably the one that had the best showing was Wisconsin in the 2013-14 season. They went all the way to the Final Four, but the other times, not so much. So I wouldn't be so worried. If you're Purdue, I wouldn't be too worried because look, I mean, the Big Ten is jam-packed. So, and Maryland's probably one of those teams, they're 9-6 now. I know they had a couple of, strange losses early in Big Ten play, but they're starting to kind of get together too. So I'm not too worried about Purdue. I mean, they'll probably still get a number 1 seed in the tournament, but.
Yeah, just to mention that on Wednesday, Michigan State's game against Minnesota was postponed due to the unfortunate shooting on campus the other day. So we'd like to send our condolences to the Michigan State University family as they're going through this trying time. Of course, Michigan State will resume all athletic activities today and tomorrow. Of course, Michigan State will play Michigan at the Big House tomorrow night at 7 o'clock on Fox. So they'll get back to work. But also another team to watch out for, and they beat the Illini a couple of Saturdays ago, and that's Iowa. They got a big win last night against the struggling Ohio State Buckeye squad.
Yeah, taking advantage of that. So like I said, they're going to be out for revenge against Northwestern too on Sunday. So we'll get to that in a second. Now going back to Wednesday, Tennessee. They did lose in the buzzer beater, so I think you should be feeling pretty good if you're a Tennessee fan. They beat number 1 Alabama. I got a chance to watch this game by 9, 69-58. Santiago Vescovi had 15 points. A nice balanced scoring attack. They beat their first win against a ranked team, I believe, since 2010 when they beat Kansas in December. I remember that game very well. Now, the guys from Alabama kind of struggled from the field a little bit. So 9 for 24 from 3. That's not going to do it. And they just hit some big shots. I mean, Tennessee struggled also 2 from 3, but they made the big shots and made the big defensive stops when they needed to. And they were determined not to lose, especially buzzer beaters, so they didn't have to worry about that.
Let's go to some West Coast basketball. Lakeena, number 4 UCLA. They defeated Stanford by the score of 73-64. Stanford led by 4 at the half. I believe it was 31-27. I told you I like Jaime Vasquez. I like the way he plays. He's a senior this year. people that know better than us, they see an NBA talent. I don't know. We'll see. But at times, Lakeena, the only thing that quote unquote frustrates me about UCLA, they struggle to score at times. And that's what happened in that first half. But they turned it around in the second half, scoring 46 points. And Stanford just went cold midway through that second half. For a while, you thought they were going to pull the upset, but UCLA forced 14 turnovers from Stanford, and most of them came in that second half.
Yeah, they bumped up the defense there, UCLA did. So I think that's so that we were able to kind of pull that off late. Marquette edged out Xavier 69-68. Stevie Mitchell had 17 points. I mean, this is one of those crazy games that's kind of back and forth for a little bit, but Marquette made those big defensive stops when they needed to. So they were able to kind of pull that out and such. Iowa State pulled away from TCU 70-59. San Diego State, edged out Fresno State, 45-43. No, that's not a typo, folks. Clemson got back on track. They beat Florida State by 40. Bradley got a nice win to keep up in the in the Missouri Valley Conference, beating Missouri State, keeping up with them there because they gotta be able to do that. Murray State edged out Illinois State. Drake State at the top, being Northern Iowa. So Oregon kind of didn't help themselves with their tourney chances. They lose a tough one in overtime to Washington, I should say, at 72-71. So not a bad loss, but it won't help you with being on the bubble if you're an Oregon fan.
Yeah, it definitely won't help them there. It's just another score. I think you mentioned it, but if I missed it, I apologize. Bradley keeps their foot on the pedal atop that Missouri Valley Conference. They beat Missouri State by 10. But Lakeena, I watched 2 minutes of this game last night. That was Gonzaga versus Loyola Marymount. Say that 5 times fast. I saw only 2 minutes of the game. I saw the rest of the highlights on YouTube. They look like they put on a mix. What's that? The mix A1 mixtape tour tape. A clinic against the Loyola Marymount. It was embarrassing, but Gonzaga got a big win last night. Loyola Marymount's chances of making the tournament is really on the bubble right now, especially after last night. Good grief.
Well, and remember they broke their home streak too, so they probably were not very happy. I'm sure they remembered that. So Mark Few and his guys, they jumped on them early and it didn't let up. So that's probably what happened there. But Providence beat Creighton in a double overtime thriller. Got a chance a little bit to watch this game. Syracuse beat NC State, and Jim Boeheim, kept his mouth shut for once. Okay, that's a lovely there. And New Mexico loses a tough one to Wyoming. This was a team that just a few weeks ago you thought that maybe had a chance to get in, but now they may have to win their tournament in order to get in. So that might not. This doesn't bode well for Richard Pitino, Jamal Mashburn Jr., and the rest of that. Lobos and Kansas came back to beat Oklahoma State. Oklahoma Porter Mosers, as we call them, they upset K-State. So a pretty nice bag of upsets and a little bit of some thrillers.
Yes, you're listening to Second City Sports on the Fun Friday edition right here on Sports Zone Chicago. We're live in the living color. I'm Sid. That's Lakeena. Lakeena, we won't go through the whole schedule due to time constraints, but we'll just mention some of the key games that are taking place tonight, tomorrow, and Sunday. I know for Saturday, Illinois will travel to Bloomington to face the number 14 ranked Indiana Hoosiers. That's 11 o'clock on ESPN. And shout out to our guy Lamont Scott, who's watching and listening to us. For those of you around the country tomorrow, WGN will show another HBCU college basketball game. It features St. Augustine's at Fayetteville State, and that's at 2 o'clock Chicago time tomorrow afternoon on WGN. And on TNT right before All-Star Saturday, they'll have Southern versus Grambling State.
Should be a fun one there. A couple of quick notes. Purdue will try to bounce back as they host Ohio State on CBS. North Carolina versus NC State at noon on ESPN, and Southern Illinois hosts Bradley on ESPN 2 at 1. So this could be big because Southern Illinois trying to keep pace and up there and trying to stay in the top 4 in the Missouri Valley. Valpo meets UIC at 2 o'clock. That's going to be on ESPN Plus. And of course, we talk about Northwestern, Iowa. That'll be on the Big Ten Network at 5:30. Oregon trying to bounce back from their loss to Washington. We'll play Wazoo at 6 o'clock on FS1.
All right, here's your top 25 schedule for Sunday. Number 3, Purdue will host Ohio State. That's at noon on CBS. This is for Sunday. Also at noon on ESPN. Number 23, NC State will host North Carolina. And number 2, Houston, watch out for the Cougars. They almost won the Final Four a couple of years ago. They almost got back there last year, but they're the number 2 ranked team in the nation. They'll host Memphis tomorrow at 2 o'clock on ESPN. I'll definitely be watching this one.
Yeah, Kentucky hosts Tennessee. They've been struggling lately, so we'll see what happens there. That's going to be new at CBS tomorrow. Oklahoma and Texas at 1 o'clock. That's on Big 12 ESPN Plus. Iowa State and K-State at 1 on ESPN. TCU will try to bounce back as they host OK State on Big 10 ESPN Plus. And Baylor and Kansas at ESPN at 3. Very early for that one. DePaul meets Xavier at 3 o'clock on CBS Sports Network. These are tomorrow's games, folks. And Arizona State hosts Utah at 5 on Pac-12 Network. And let's see, I'm sure there's a couple other games. Oh, and Cal meets UCLA 9:30 on Pac-12 Network. And BYU meets St. Mary's at 9 o'clock on ESPN2. And that is your schedule for this weekend in college hoops.
Coming up next, we'll have our good friend, Miss Kaitlin Sharkey, now of WGN Sports. She'll hop on with us to talk Bears, maybe a little bit of Bulls, and we'll get news from our baseball teams as well. Say they are now in action in spring training and a whole lot more. I'm Sid. That's Lakeena. You listen to a fun Friday edition of Second City Sports live in 11 color right here on Sports Zone Chicago.
This year, my mom got me the perfect bag for back to school.
These colorful binders help me stay organized.
These headphones are just what I need for studying.
These new sneakers are just what I need for the new year.
This jacket is a real must-have.
My parents got me the skateboard I wanted. It's pretty cool.
These scissors really come in handy in art class.
These colored pencils, too. These new socks? They can be a real lifesaver.
I finally got my own phone to stay in touch with my mom.
Trisha's having a sleepover tonight. Can I go?
I wonder about Lucy's friends. What should I say? I know you're only 10, but one of these days a friend will offer you a drink. And alcohol at your age can lead to so many things. None of them good.
So can I go to the sleepover?
Lucy, I want you to promise me
I
something.
finished my homework.
Bigger promise. If there's any drinking, I want you to say, "No thanks, not my thing."
Mom.
I promise you. Your real friends won't care. Deal?
Sure.
Really?
I promise, Mom.
They really do hear you.
Did you pack your toothbrush?
For tips on how to start the talk, visit underagedrinking.samhsa.gov. A public service message from the Substance Abuse and Mental Health Services Administration.
Hey, this is Dr. J, and I listen to Sean and Maya in the morning.
Oh, sorry. Welcome back to Second City Sports on a fun Friday edition. We're live in the living color right here on Sports Zone Chicago. I'm Sid. That's Lakeena. You can follow yours surely on the Twitter and the IG at CK80. Once again, it's CK80 SIDKID 80.
You follow me at Keenan McGee on the Twitter and at Keenan McGee on the IG.
Lakeena, let's bring on our good friend. She's been on the podcast with us many times before. This is the first time she's been on here ever since she's joined the world's greatest newspaper. She covers all Chicago sports for GN Sports. Tonight you can watch her nightly on WGN at 10:30 p.m. Chicago time. She is the one, the only Miss Kaitlin Sharkey. Kaitlin, welcome back to the show.
Hey guys, so good to see you. I hope you can hear okay because my AirPods were not working, so I'm going without them. So I hope you can hear me okay.
No.
Okay, we can hear you just fine.
Beautiful. So good to see you both.
Yeah. So before we get started, Kaitlin, we had your colleague Josh Fryman on a couple of weeks ago, and we had Jared Payton on right before the start of the Bears season, and they talked about having a fun atmosphere, working in a fun atmosphere at WGN. We just want to say from us to you, happy early 1 year anniversary since you joined WGN. So I assume that you echo those same sentiments of working in a fun sports department.
Absolutely. Thank you so much. Yeah, it'll be a year in June. So I'm turning that corner into the first year, and it's been an absolute blast. I feel like we have the best sports team in Chicago TV right now, and everyone's so fun, and we do really great work, and I'm happy with where I'm at, and guys like JP, Josh, Chris, they just bring such great energy, and I'm proud of the work that we do.
All right, good stuff. Let's start out with the Chicago Bears. Kaitlin, of course, they ended the season with 3 wins. They get the number 1 draft pick. Of course, looks like they're moving to Arlington Heights. That's now official. But let's focus on what's going on the field. I know that the new calendar year starts, I believe, next month, around March 13th, somewhere around in there. What do you see? What do you think the plans are for the Chicago Bears as they'll hit free agency along with everybody else in the league?
Well, I feel like depending on what they do in free agency will kind of lay out the groundwork for the draft. And I think there's a lot of change coming, and that's good because obviously when you finish the season with 3 wins, you want a lot of change because that means something wasn't going right. So I think that, it'll be an exciting time. There's a lot of voids and a lot of needs that this team has right now. There's going to be a ton of new faces. I feel like I'm going to walk into the locker room on the first week and who are all these people? Because I feel like there's so much change. But it should be an exciting time. And I think they have their foundational piece in Justin Fields. And I hope they can add some weapons, whether or not it's in free agency or in the draft. But they can't really go wrong. And I think it starts up front with what they need, both in the D-line, especially on defense and the D-line and pass rush and things like that. But also, obviously, receiving weapons for Justin Fields because we saw at the end of the season, those splashes and those flashes of what this offense could look like with him running things. So I'm ready and anxious to see that kind of be put in full motion right now.
I'll let you put on your Bears GM hat for a second, Kaitlin. What do you do with the number 1 pick? Do you stay there and get Jalen Smith from Georgia? Do you maybe trade down and let Indianapolis and Houston get the guy they want, which assuming Bryce Young will leave us, or Levis, I should say, or do you kind of get more picks here? What do you think? What do you think the Bears might do? What do you think they should do?
I think they should certainly answer those phone calls and hear out what they can kind of get in terms of draft capital and whatnot, and see what they can kind of work with to maybe give up that first pick. But I also think they can't afford to fall too far down the draft board. I think if they fall out of the top 5 picks or top 4 picks, then you're starting to go, okay, what's it really worth? But I certainly don't think they need a quarterback. So I am in the team that they have their quarterback. They don't need to draft one. They don't need to trade Justin Fields. They have that position. That's the only solid position I feel like they have right now on this team. But there's some really strong DNs and there's some really strong defensive guys at the top of that draft that I think they should snag up right away, because to me, that's just everything they were missing on defense this year. And we never really saw Matt Eberflus's 4-3 come to life in what its true potential is, because all the moves that they made and the lack of, talent and experience in those positions. So I'm answering the phone calls. I'm hearing what these teams want. There's always that sense of desperation when they're trying to climb the draft board. But if I was Ryan Poles, I would not fall too far down the board depending on what was offered.
You kind of answered my next question, Kaitlin, regarding the draft, but I still want to go back to free agency. You assume that the Ryan Poles and crew were focusing mostly on defense in the draft. What position would they focus on free agency? Offensive line, trying to trade for a number one wide receiver, or get a running back, assuming that David Montgomery doesn't come back? What position do you think they'll be focused on once free agency starts?
I think receiver for sure. I think they don't have, and it's no disrespect to Darnell Mooney. I think he is an incredible receiver. And obviously with him being injured, we didn't really get to see him kind of grow into his full potential in another season. Obviously he'll be back, but I think they need that guy. They need this someone that's going to start the season with Justin and can build this chemistry for the entire year. And I think that's something that he just hasn't had in his 2 years in Chicago. Obviously, he had that with Mooney, but then Mooney gets hurt. They bring in Claypool. He has no chemistry with Claypool. You could just tell they were just disjointed the whole season. And I'm not putting that out and, disregarding Claypool or saying that trade was a bad move or anything right at this point, but they still don't have their guy. I don't think Equanimous is that receiver that they have, and that room is just not very strong. So bring in a vet, bring in someone that knows how to adjust, and see what they can do. That would be my choice in free agency.
Yeah, I mean, there's so many. You could probably say it's very loaded. The draft is, of course, you got Jalen Carter from Georgia, the edge rusher, and among many, many others. Do you go edge rusher? Do you go linebacker? What say you if they do decide to stay at one or even trade back and go defense? Where do you think they go?
I think you go edge rusher. I think that they just up front, I feel like they were just lacking and no one jumped off the page. No one was making those impact plays. And, I feel like their secondary was strong given the situation. And if Eddie Jackson wouldn't have got hurt, I think Jaquan Brisker really came on and really grew into his own. And I think that's a strong position. Jalen Johnson continues to be really strong in his position as well. So it's all up front. I felt like it always just failed, especially stopping the run and all of those things. They didn't play the defense that we're used to seeing in Chicago. And I think that's because of some of their defensive leaders, obviously, and Roquan and Robert Quinn moved on. So I think you got to go edge rusher. You got to bring some fire in because I don't think the guys that were up there this season really brought much of that.
We saw Justin Fields take a step in year two of his career from his rookie year last year under a different head coach. What attributes do you think that he needs to work on in this offseason going into 2023, which many people expect the Bears to take a major jump?
I think it's just, to me, it's game situations, experience, Justin seeing more of the defense, understanding how to react to the defenses, working out his shorter passes. I feel like he has the ability to create long downfield plays, but I feel like he struggled with the checkdowns and the short passes and kind of reading the defense. And that could be a combination of the receivers also not being on the same page. But I think we've seen what he can do when we can run. I think we've been all impressed by his ability to run. I think, to me, it's also developing his game and experience with reps to not just default to running constantly, because the league's going to figure that out. They already started to figure that out toward the end of last season, how dangerous his legs and his running ability can be. So he needs to develop his passing game. And I think a lot of that starts with just building the chemistry and just seeing the game situations. And Luke Getsy, I remember asking a few times last season, how does one develop in that and their game awareness and situational football? And, Getsy's like, he just has to see it. And when you've only played, very little time in the NFL, you haven't seen a lot of those situations. So I think we'll see major strides, especially because there's not a whole shakeup of a coaching staff and offense and new faces. There'll be new faces, of course, but not a complete rehaul that he had to deal with at the beginning of this season.
Well, let's switch gears here as we talk to our good buddy, WGN's Kaitlin Sharkey, chatting with us here on Second City Sports on Sports Zone Chicago. Lakeena McGee, Cindy Brown with you as well. Let's switch over to the dime for a second, Kaitlin. You got pitchers and catchers going on, right now as we speak, in Florida and Arizona. Now, we'll start with the Cubs first. I mean, the Cubs have picked up, guys like Dansby Swanson, Jameson Tallman, Cody Bellinger, Trey Mancini. do you think they're kind of in that, not necessarily like weighing in the division, but perhaps maybe contending for a wild card or going, just trying to get to 500? Where do you think the Cubs mindset is this year?
Yeah, I think so. I think their mindset should be they are capable of winning and they should be winning. I don't think they don't want to talk about rebuilding. They don't want to think that they're in this rebuilding mode anymore. And I think the moves that they made, the guys specifically that they brought in, not only their baseball talents and skill sets, but also they all have winning experience. They, some of them are coming off World Series victories. Some of them have won World Series. They know what it takes to kind of be in those situations. So for even some of the younger players on the Cubs team, that goes a long way inside a clubhouse. So I'm excited to see what the Cubs can do, what David Ross kind of puts together, and their pitching staff should be strong. Their defense should be strong. So I don't think this is a season where we go, well, they're in this, it's the Cubs. They're not where they want to be yet. No, I think they should be contenders and they should be competitors this season, given the people that they brought in. I'm interested to see how their offense holds up to complement kind of their pitching and defense.
Yeah, you speak of the defense, Kaitlin. I think it's going to be led by Dansby Swanson, their big free agent signing, and Nico Horner. I think they're going to surprise a lot of people with their defense. But I wanted to ask you, where is their offense is going to come from? I know they have minor leaguer Matt Murphys. I don't know if he's going to be brought up this year. We'll see about that. But I know they brought in Trey Mancini and Eric Hosmer, who's at the twilight of his career. They're going to share duties at first base. But where's this offense is going to come from? Because you can lean on that defensive pitching for so long, but you got to have some offense to sustain it, to give those guys a break.
That's exactly the question I posed to Josh Friedman when he was out in Arizona earlier this week, Sydney, because he was talking about the pitching and the defense. I'm like, okay, but fans, and when they're watching baseball, they want to see some offense, and good teams need to score.
Yes.
And I think that's going to be something we won't know until it starts to play out. There's no one off the top of my mind or like, oh, this 1, 2, 3 in the lineup is going to be powerful. I don't think we know that yet. We kind of have to see where these guys, how they adapt and where they're at is in terms of production and batting, because Nico Horner has been great. And we've seen some of these young guys kind of come into their own and evolve the last season, but it certainly doesn't jump off the page, but that doesn't mean it's not there. And that doesn't mean that they don't have the capabilities to have an offense, but that to me remains the biggest question mark for the Cubs. What does the offense look like as they start the season?
Definitely the $1 million question is can they score, and I think that's going to be the key, especially if they do try to contend. If not, if they liberate for a wild card spot. Now let's go to the south side, Kaitlin. Of course, the White Sox, Pedro Grifol, takes over as manager. We won't get into the whole Mike Clevenger stuff yet, but with all the they picked up some minor guys and such. Of course, you got Tim Anderson's back. I think he's probably for a breakout season, perhaps maybe AL MVP. Maybe I don't know. I know Sid and I talked about it a couple weeks, so maybe not just last week and such. The pitching, we'll see. Hopefully, Liam Hendricks will be back soon. We're praying for you, Liam. But what's your prospects for the Sox this year?
It's tough. I feel like there was a lot of conversation about how bad the Sox offseason went, and I don't know if Sid felt that way.
He did. Oh, you should listen to him, Kaitlin. He did.
I figured because I was sitting there like, oh, this is not good. You don't want the Clevenger situation to cloud the start of spring training, but that's exactly what it did. And while that shakes itself out, and it will eventually all get figured out, it's a tough situation for a new manager to step into. And you just hope the guys that are already established with the White Sox can have big seasons and feel confident and strong. And Yoan Moncada said, he feels healthy, that he's ready to have a bounce back season, and they desperately need him to have one. And I think, you lose a guy like Jose Abreu and you just feel like it kind of takes the wind out of your sails. So I'm not going to lie, I'm a little worried about the Sox. I'm not worried about their pitching. I'm worried about kind of the outside, the rest of it, and obviously hoping for the best and sending all the support and love to Liam Hendricks because that's obviously the major priority for him right now and not baseball. But I feel I'm worried. I'm worried, Sid.
I'm worried in more ways than one. I voluntarily gave my money again to the White Sox for season tickets, but I'll say this. I'll say this right now to you, Kaitlin. I'll say it again towards the start of the season. At the end of the season against the San Diego Padres, who they'll finish up the season with, If they're not continuing for the playoffs spot, no playoffs, no money. No playoffs, no money. No Sid. No Sid. But sticking with the White Sox pitching staff, of course, Dylan Cease had a stellar year last year. It should have been better, but because of a poor offense and poor defense at times, he should have won 20 games, but that didn't happen. But regardless of that, outside of Dylan Cease, on that starting pitching staff, minus, as Lakeena said, Clevenger, who do you think has the most pressure to improve this year? Michael Kopech or Lucas Giolito, who's going to fight for a contract this year?
I mean, I feel like when I think they both have to come and they have to come ready. But in my mind, I think of Giolito. I just feel like I would have these moments of just greatness, but then these complete implosions that were just hard to watch and hard to, when the game would get out of hand for him early on, you would just feel like, oh God, we're going to have one of these again. With Kopech, he didn't really have that, it became, I feel like Kopech's an entirely different type of pitcher and just mindset, and he has a lot going on. But I feel like Giolito, I don't want him to lose confidence in himself. And that's hard to do when you're a starting pitcher in the games that he had that started the way they had. So I feel like there's pressure on both of them because let's face it, Dylan Cease and Johnny Cueto, I feel like carried this pitching staff.
Yes, he did.
Which is maybe something a lot of people didn't expect, not from Cease, but from Cueto. So I don't know. They got by, I feel like, a lot of times, and they got to the point that they needed to because of Cease and Cueto. So it's on Kopech and Giolito to take a step forward for sure, because otherwise it just hasn't been enough for me.
What about Eloy? I mean, you know how I feel about Eloy being on the outfield. Kaitlin, you know how Sid knows too. Are we going to be seeing Eloy in the outfield? More of that this year? Are we going to see him DHing more? And also,
according to Eloy, we're going to see him out. Yeah, he's confident that he should be out.
So what do you think?
I don't know. I mean, him saying that he doesn't want to DH, I just feel like it's so Eloy to just go out. Like, let's settle down. The Gold Glove isn't on yet. Let's just, let's figure out. I don't know. I hope for his sake, he finds a way to handle. And if he isn't in the outfield as much as he would like, I hope he understands that this is his role, and because otherwise there's a maturity that has to go along with understanding that, and especially with a new manager that is just beginning to build and form relationships with these guys. So I love Eloy. I think he has a great personality, and he's full of life, but sometimes I feel like when he came out and said I didn't want to DH, I was just saying to myself like, oh God. But that's why we love him.
Oh gosh.
Lakeena's getting more of a headache than I am, and she, her favorite moment was Eloy Jimenez being caught up in the neck catching a foul ball. But we'll move on. We're hanging out with our home. We're hanging out down the home stretch with our homegirl Kaitlin Sharkey from WGN Sports, right here on Sports Zone Chicago, Second City Sports. Sid, Lakeena here with you as we close down hour number one. We're going to dive into our NBA Bulls Power Hour next hour, Kaitlin, but we'll try to limit the headache for you and for Lakeena. What do you think about the Bulls? Last night, Giannis injured his wrist. It looks like he's going to be okay. He's going to participate in All-Star Weekend, but the Bulls seem like they can't get out of their own way. They're on a current 6-game losing streak, but they're still a couple of games out of their last playoff spot. Excuse my French, how in the hell is this happening? It's a miracle that they're still within striking distance right now. Maybe you have some answers we don't.
I mean, I was there last night and went in the locker room.
We're sorry that you had to witness that.
Oh God! And listen to Levine, and you could just see the frustration on Zach's face, and understandably so. I feel like they just can't get it figured out, and I think that's the most frustrating part, because they have the talent and just none of it clicks, and they're just wildly inconsistent. And they say that they're a better, Billy said, we're a good basketball team. We play good basketball. But at some point when you're continuously blowing 20-point leads, are you a good basketball team? I just feel like that's just something that there needs to be a deep reflection and a deep reset in this All-Star break right now. because they just don't have it. I think Iowa's played phenomenal. I think Dalen Terry is really coming into his own, and he had a great game last night. And it's almost like when you see those young guys take the court, they have a lot more energy. They feel like they're out there playing minutes for their life. And I think that is kind of missing from some of the vets on the team. And I'm not saying it's anyone's specifics or their fault, but the energy is just different. They're not playing well together. Their offense has just been, there's just so many issues. I don't know. I mean, watching that Pacers last night, I didn't expect them to win. I'll be honest. I mean, you blow a 24-point lead to the Pacers, you're not going to have the Bucks come in and just sit there and not play. And they were getting lit up by Javon Carter. I don't. And I'm like, what is going on? I'm like, I've never even watched AJ Green and Javon Carter really play. And here they are just, I mean, at home, it's just, I don't know. They need to hit the reset button. And I pray that they go away and they come back. And yeah, because they still are within striking distance, but their record says who they are. And I think we have to stop believing that they're a better team that are just playing bad basketball. Like, let's see what it is and we'll see if they add anybody. I don't know if Westbrook's coming or Patrick Beverly, but I don't think it's going to make it. I mean, anything could happen at this point.
the absurdity of it all, I guess you can say it at this point, Kaitlin. But let's talk about some happy stuff real quick in this last moment or two. Let's talk some college hoops. Of course, Northwestern got a nice win a couple of nights ago against Indiana, sweeping them. Illinois didn't have their best showing against Penn State a couple of nights ago there too. Marquette's been playing very well. I see your Milwaukee. They're kind of right there in the Horizon League as well. So what is your expectation for a lot of local teams, and especially for the local teams in college hoops as we get closer and closer to March?
Lakeena, I love you for shouting out my Panthers. I am so proud of them in the Horizon League right now. It's been a rough decade, more than a decade of them struggling. So I'm excited for them and Coach Lundy. It's a great group that they have there in Milwaukee. But yeah, the local teams, Northwestern's fun. I love watching Northwestern, these games. I mean, to knock off Purdue and then to do what they did at home is just, it's super impressive and it's fun. And I feel excited for the seniors on that team that have seen it all, stayed there, grinded it out, faced the adversity, and credit to Chris Collins for kind of keeping them in this mindset that they can compete with anybody, and they've kind of embraced it. And now they should be in the tournament. They should be ranked after their last performance. So we'll see how Sunday goes. I'm going to the game Sunday in Evanston. So we'll see, but I'm excited for them. Illinois is like that. You know, they give me like shades of the Bulls where you're like, what happened here? They should be better than they're playing. But Northwestern, good for them. It's a great team to follow. And I know that they have a passionate fan base as well. We have a lot of people that we work with that are pumped about the Wildcats right now. So it's been fun.
We don't have to tell you, Kaitlin, you'll have a better time on Sunday than you did last night watching that garbage with the Bulls. Last question from me, Kaitlin. Of course, many parts of the Chicago area saw more snow last night. Yeah. We haven't seen any snow so far this winter, of course. Where I am down south, we barely got 2 inches. It was like people are starting to deal with it, thank goodness. But I wanted to ask you, in your childhood back in Wisconsin, I'm sure you experienced a couple of snow days back in your day. What was your go-to activity? Did you have any fun activities? Did you play outside in the snow? Did you watch movies? Or what did you do on a snow day?
I was like the girl that would go play outside for like 15 minutes. I'd like put that snowman together so fast to say that I did it, and then I'm back in the house. I don't like cold weather, even though I've lived in the Midwest my entire life. I don't like it either, even though I've buried in it my entire life. So I am like, let's make the snowman, get back in the house, watch movies the rest of the day. I love movies. I love to binge movies, especially on a cozy day. So yeah, I feel like we've also been very lucky this winter. I'm loving it. I'm loving the lack of snow.
Me too.
I'm loving it. I know people aren't happy, but I'm like, bring it on. Even last night, I'm like, okay, this wasn't bad. I mean, we have barely anything on the ground here. So it's fun. But it's fun to think about those snow days and waiting for your school to scroll across the bottom.
Yes.
Yes. Oh, yes. Good times. Good times. Oh, my goodness.
Gotta wait for your letter of the alphabet.
I was like, now you can do it.
Yeah.
Yes, exactly. So yeah, now you can just get like a mass text from your school or whatever, and email us. So today's kids will never know what we went through back in the day. Okay, Kaitlin, this was so much fun as always. Again, thank you so much. We've had you gotta get Chris Bone to come on here with us. He's the only one in your group and your team that's not come on. So get Chris. If you're listening, you're watching this. Yeah, I'll say please, get him on our show.
Yes, absolutely. You need to complete the WGN Sports office.
So you can follow Kaitlin Sharkey at KRoseSharkey. That's the letter K Rose Sharkey on Twitter and Instagram. She covers all Chicago sports for WGN Sports. And what days can we catch you on GN Sports tonight with you and Jerry Payton? What days?
I'm usually Mondays and Tuesdays. I'm on GN Sports. I'm on 4, 9, and 10:30. So I'll be on GN Sports tonight with Andy Mazer. So JP's off today, but I'm going in because our guys are out at spring training. So I'm working an extra Friday night. So I'll be on tonight.
Okay, we'll definitely be watching. Say hello to Andy Mason for us. He's another good friend that we had on the show last year. So you guys will have you guys will definitely have a lot of fun. We'll be watching. So great job as always. So hopefully we'll have you on again once baseball season starts.
Absolutely. Thanks, guys. So great to see you both.
All right. Thank you. Take care.
Stay safe, Kaitlin.
Thank you. You too.
Oh, all right. And that's our girl, Kaitlin Sharkey from WGN Sports. Of course, you can follow her at KRoseSharkey on the Twitter. And of course, one of our guys is on right now. We're going to take a really quick break. We're going to do our NBA / Bulls Power Hour. Brandon, I see, you were, from YouTube, you giving us a shout out. Okay, well, Brandon, get your butt back here on YouTube because this is a show you're going to want to see for the next hour. So all NBA, some Bulls, but, some NBA all the time. Yes, we're going to be by a very illustrious panel of experts, joining us in a couple of minutes. Lakeena McGee, Cindy Brown, Second City Sports on Sports on Chicago. Our NBA Power Hour starts right after this.
No, I don't know, though. I'm scared.
Do you know that you're in my lane? No, not at all. Are you not paying attention? Are you texting? I was just checking in with my mom. I was telling her that I thought we'd be home by 6. It's okay. There's enough time. Just pay attention. I'm not even halfway through my text. There's no way. I'm not even going to look up. My babies are in the car. You have to pay attention. It's just supposed to be a quick text. I'm so sorry.
Hi, I'm Tom Brady, the director of DODEA. September is National Suicide Prevention and Awareness Month. The simple act of reaching out and caring for those in our communities is something we all can do. Just being there for someone you care about can be a tremendous first step in getting them access to confidential resources and support that they need. It only takes one person and one small act and 1 minute to make a difference. Let's make a difference.
Many will hear the calling. Few will earn the title. United States Marine. The few, the proud, the Marines.
Welcome back to hour number 2 of Second City Sports on a fun Friday edition. Real live and live in color right here on Sports Zone Chicago, along with Miss Lakeena McGee, which is she. I am Cindy Brown. Hey, that's me. You can follow yours truly on the Twitter and the IG at CK80. Once again, it's CK80. That's SIDKID80. That's SIDKID80.
You can follow me at Keena McGee on the Twitter and at Keena McGee on the IG.
And this is your daily reminder. Don't forget, you can also catch Sports Zone Chicago, now available on Roku TV. You have any questions or comments for us during our Bulls NBA Power Hour, you can hit us up in the comments section at Sports Zone Chicago's Facebook page or at Sports Zone Chicago on YouTube. Type in your questions or comments in the comments section. Lakeena will get them up on the screen for you. Now, I will turn to my lovely co-host, Miss Lakeena McGee, to give you all the starting lineup for our NBA Power Hour panel.
I wish we had like the Bulls music going on in the background, but of course, these are all familiar names you guys know and love from the various places. Of course, we call him our little brother from another. He is, does a great job, Warr Media, and he's also on the Bigs as well. He is the one, the only Joshua M. Hicks. Josh, what's up?
What's up, squad? How you guys doing?
We're doing great. How about yourself?
How about you?
Likewise, glad to be back on.
No problem. Glad to have you back on. And another one, too. He also covers the Bulls for the Bigs. He's one of the founding members of the Bigs. He is the one, the only, the great Eugene McIntosh. Eugene, what's up? How are you?
Yeah.
Welcome back.
What's up, family? How y'all doing?
We're doing just fine, but how about yourself?
I can't complain. Just over here living it up,
Oh, absolutely. Now, we got a couple more guys joining us in just a little bit, but since we got Eugene and Josh with us already, Eugene, Josh, for your sake, we'll keep the Bulls talk to a minimum. But I know.
I'll let Josh handle that.
I'll let Josh handle that.
Thanks, I'm so honored.
I feel honored. Absolutely. Okay. Well, keep it short and sweet, I guess. But Josh, what's going on here with the Bulls? I mean, we had our girl, of course, Kaitlin Sharkey from WGN with us here, and she kind of said the same thing that we've been saying. The Bulls are still kind of right there in striking distance for that last play-in spot, and they're actually not that far from that 6th spot. Can they right the ship?
I don't have faith in it. Let's put it that way. Just because Zach LaVine said it last night in his press conference, they still don't know they don't have an identity of what they are offensively. And because you don't have an identity, you need to have those things solidified if you're going to make a playoff push, especially this late into the season. Yes, there is technically some hope, which is definitely something that Zach LaVine has told me. He is very optimistic that his team can turn it around. And he's confident in his leadership capabilities as well as, his teammates. But no identity, you're struggling offensively, you're battling injuries, and there's so much inconsistency on both ends of the floor. At this point, that's not playoff basketball. And because of that, you cannot guarantee that you're going to just flip a switch all of a sudden and switch things around, because you don't have the roster or the talent really to do that. So I don't think the Bulls are going to make the playoffs like that. I really don't. And if they do, it's going to be at that very last play-in spot, considering that there's so many holes that they have to fill in such little time.
All right, Eugene, you have to answer, Eugene. Say something, Eugene.
No, I was just joking. Of course, I was going to weigh in, man. I definitely do not think those guys they're not playoff worthy. And like Josh said, and Josh kept it PC, but I'm not going to do that. This is a team with no heart, no leadership, no guts, no dogs. I like Billy Donovan, but I think it's time for Billy to get off the Mr. Nice Guy. There needs to be some furniture moving in that locker room if these guys are serious. And at the end of the day, there needs to be a fire sale, man. They should have, AK sat on his hands a couple weeks ago. And right now, I think these guys should be looking forward to the future, and that's blowing this thing up and starting all over. It's nothing new for the Bulls, for a Jerry Reinsdorf run organization. So at best, these guys will be a play-in team, and they'd be a first-round exit, especially when you're missing Javonte Green and Alex Caruso is like the glass man, and you're missing Derek Jones Jr., and who knows what Lonzo Ball's career holds. Zach LaVine's, his season has been underwhelming. DeMar DeRozan, he's battling injuries, but he caught lightning in the bottle last year. Now that the scouting report is out there, it was everyone's first year last year, so they were able to run the season without a lot being known about them. But now that the scouting report is out, everybody knows how to beat the Bulls. And I mean, they've been okay at times defensively, but like Josh said, they have no identity offensively. There are times and times and times over and over again where we see Nikola Vucevic have such an advantage in the post, and they can't even deliver a regular post pass to get him the ball to let him dominate down low. So I think Vuce is playing for his big payday, whether it's going to be with the Bulls or another team. And this team is in complete shambles right now.
So you say that Billy Donovan should pull a James Evans for good times with a bunch of door slams?
He's got something, man, because Billy's, his rapport around the league is he's a player's coach, and that's fine when the most out of your guys. But when you're not, and you keep coming to the press conference with the same old jive about, and like what Zach LaVine said when Josh talked to him last night, and of course that's what he's going to say. Yeah, I believe in myself, and yeah, I believe in the team. But we're all watching the same thing on a nightly basis. And those guys, they don't have faith in each other. I don't even think the locker room is together. I think there's some divide in there. Josh would know just as well as I do. He circles the locker room. He talks to those guys. You can get a feel of the aura of the locker room. I think there's some divide in there. I don't think, like I said, I think Zach LaVine, even though his numbers look okay, his season it's just been underwhelming to me. He doesn't play with a high IQ. He's highly skilled, but so are the other max players in the league. So when you're not able to put the team on your, like, these guys should not be 500. If you have a guy like Zach LaVine who just got paid max dollars, he should be able to put this team on his back for a couple of wins and have this team in the mix. But, there's just a lot of things going wrong with this team, and I don't see that changing after All-Star break.
Okay, we'll get another perspective here as we, another one of our faves from CHGO is the one, the only, a great wrestling fan too, Mr. Big Dave Watson. Big Dave, what's up?
Hey, peace. What's happening? Yeah, what's going on with y'all, man? Good to see y'all for real. Eugene, Jay Hicks, what's good?
What's good?
Sid, Lakeena, what's going on, man?
Yeah, glad to have you with us. What are your thoughts about the Bulls' first half so far this year?
Oh, they're complete ass. They're ass.
Okay,
that's it. I mean, that's what they are. That's what they are. They are trash. And y'all know me. I'm a very optimistic person, but I am real and I am honest. You know what I'm saying? I am logical. So my optimism is from logic. You know what I'm saying? And what's going on right now is illogical, with the Bulls and what they're doing. So even when I was on here last time, and even when I was doing shows, in the offseason and, having high hopes or whatever for the team, the main thing I kept coming back to was they did nothing to address the 3-point issue at all. They did nothing to address that. So I didn't see going into the season what they were going to do. He was just hoping guys would get better from three, hoping Aya would get better. Maybe Dragic to give you something. You heard Billy Donovan say he wanted Zach shooting like 10, 15 threes a game. They were putting those hopes on that, which hope is not a strategy. You know what I'm saying? Going into a basketball season. But they went in with that plan. It's failed miserably. The Bulls were the first team in NBA history to shoot under 20% from the 3-point line for 4 straight games. Nobody's ever done that before. They were the first team to do that. So it's been bad from that aspect. So if you don't have any 3-point shooting, you're not going to win. That's going to happen. Secondly, there's y'all know I love goons. You know what I'm saying? There's no goon on here. They ain't got no heart like that. You know what I'm saying? Nobody has it. Everybody's cool. Everybody's a cool guy, which is fine. I don't have a problem with you being a cool guy, but there has to be an agitator. There has to be somebody that comes out there, and sets the tone like, yo, it ain't going down with us like this. You know what I mean? Every good Bulls team that you can point to, whether they went deep in the playoffs or not, if they were a good team, you can point directly to the goon. You can point directly to that person and say that was the one setting the tone, whether it was Kirk Thomas or whoever. You could point to him and say that's the one setting the tone. Joakim Noah, and on down the line. You can go point it out. You can see it. They don't have that. The one I thought it was Dalen Terry, but he was a rookie, and I don't think you should be looking to your rookie for that. Like somebody else should have that. But if he's the one, then let him be the one. And you see he hasn't been getting in the game, obviously because of injury, obviously because, you maybe had Javonte or Derrick Jones Jr. maybe wanted higher than him as far as his skill is concerned. But I think Billy Donovan needs to recognize at some point in time that he needed some spot minutes throughout the season because the Bulls were really lacking severe energy out there and some heart out there and somebody to set some kind of physical tone for the team. They didn't do that. He kept going with those same guys, and you see what they got. So those for me are two main things, and I would combine that also with just bad chemistry, with these guys. I don't know what's going on, in the locker room. I can only lean on like Gene. I can lean on Josh. I can lean on Will, to help me out with that, those kind of things like that. But it just feels like there's no true, real connection with them. The guys aren't playing for each other. You know what I mean? Like I thought. And again, I don't want to put everything on Lonzo Ball because, like I told you guys, if you're putting everything on Lonzo, you got other issues. But if you got putting it on Lonzo Ball as the team chemistry and all that other stuff, yeah, it was important. Guys are actually hugging each other on the court last year because of Lonzo Ball. You don't see that love. They ain't got no love. They ain't got no love for Snoop Dogg and Death Row out there this year. You know what I'm saying? You know what I mean? They ain't got that this year, man. So all of that's been bad for them. And the fact that they're the only team in the NBA that has not made any move at the trade deadline or hasn't signed a free agent like on the buyout. They're the only ones who hasn't done anything yet. It's just a recipe for disaster, man. And you're getting what you get.
Sid?
I echo those same words for what you guys have been saying. I don't see this team making the playoffs. If they do, it's going to be a quick out by Milwaukee again, like last year, or Boston, or maybe Philly. I don't see it. But I want to ask the panel this question. We saw the trade rumors last week about Zach LaVine to the Knicks. Dave, I watched you and Matt Peck and Will Gottlieb. You guys did a great job with that. As a fan, I'm just speaking as a fan. I wanted those reports were true. I wanted those number one picks from the Knicks. If those reports were true, I wanted those. But deep down, I really didn't believe that the Bulls were going to do anything. If you believe those stories that have come out in the last couple of weeks, is Zach LaVine versus Billy Donovan versus the rest of the team. It depends. Depending on how this season finishes out, do you think this Bulls front office will try to trade Zach LaVine again over the summer? I'll start out with you first, Josh.
I don't think they will because they're really tied to him. He's given that max deal, and you have to see which team is willing to take that big of a max deal. So at this point, I don't think they really are going to try to get rid of him. They really want this to work. And even though there is Billy Donovan, Zach LaVine issues taking place in the relationship, what relationship doesn't have rocks and bumpy roads? They still have a lot of respect for each other, and they do want to make this work. So I think, if anything, front office is maybe trying to do this to kind of like let Zach know that, hey, we really do like you and want you here, but you got to get yourself together too. Just because you're a max player doesn't mean you just can't go out here, play any old kind of way and just be okay with it. No, we need your level of play to equal winning basketball. And right now, that's not the case. So this may be the front office's way of trying to get his attention and let him know, like, hey, if we're willing to have trade talks and deal you want to be here, bro, guess what? You better come with it. And this year, it hasn't been that case. Hopefully, and I know for sure they're probably thinking hopefully next year will be different, but that's up to Zach LaVine and him actually taking things to the next level, taking that pretty serious instead of just talking about it after games in the locker room. What's the next steps you're going to take to not just elevate your game, but elevate your teammates around you? What's the next level? We expected Zach LaVine to play this year and hasn't lived up to his full potential.
Eugene?
Man, sometimes guys are who they are. You know what I'm saying? And I'm going to push back on Josh a little bit. And again, Josh has spent as much time in the locker room as I have this year. And he's got a good feel of what's going on. But I don't think Zach LaVine wants to be. Well, the rumors have been for 2 years that Zach LaVine doesn't want to be here. Obviously, the Bulls could offer him the max amount of dollars, so why not take it? But his play is his demeanor, everything inside of Zach LaVine is showing that he doesn't want to be here. You can say what you want to say. You can say all the right things because that's what a professional does. But at the end of the day, I'm going to keep saying this. It's going to sound like a broken record, but we're all watching the same basketball team. Zach LaVine looks like a guy who does not want to be here. And there's an easy fix for that. Continue to play like this. Yeah, you can put up 24, 6, and 5 because he can do that in his sleep. But the way he puts those points up, the way they're in those games towards the end, and somehow, some way, they don't finish the job. When all things are going well, who gets the pub? The leader, right? When things ain't going well, who gets the brunt of it? The leader. So I don't think Zach LaVine wants to be here. And if the Bulls want to be in a better situation for the future, AK and Mark Eversley, they need to be having talks with Michael Reinsdorf right now about what they really want to do with Zach LaVine, because I don't think he's the Bulls' future. Like I said, you know who his agents are. Those guys work magic. We know Zach LaVine is from the West Coast. And I'll just leave that there. There was we heard the talks about the trade, maybe to New York. We heard about, maybe him and Luka pairing up in Dallas. So there are some suitors out there. Josh is right. It's a lot of money on the table, but there are some guys out there that are willing to take that risk. And change of scenery is good for some, man. I feel like it would be perfect for Zach LaVine. I never thought Zach LaVine was the future for the Bulls. I think he's a talented guy, but I don't think he's a number one. I think he's a number two on a contending team. So, and I hate to sound like I'm coming down on Zach. He's a cool dude, but I think his future is elsewhere, man.
Dave?
Yeah, I agree with that. So especially that a lot of those parts. Well, let me break this down. So I always felt like Zach LaVine was a number two, regardless. I felt like he's a number two on a good team, and if he's a number three on your team is great. Right. Like if Zach is the number three, your team is great. So he's not the one. Like he's shown that year after year after year. That's not why I wanted to re-sign him. I wanted to re-sign him because I didn't want him to walk for anything. And my bottom line of it was, after everything I list about Zach LaVine, I always say it at the end, but if it doesn't work, you sign him so you can get something for him. Right. Regardless if it works out or not. You can't just let him go for nothing. So get something for him. I was all in on that trade, Josh. I was all in with that Knicks trade. I was like, yep, do it now, today. Do this trade. You're going to get what picks and some young talent? Yeah. Send that off, ship it off. Fine, let's start over. Let's hit the reset button. Bulls didn't want to do it for, their own reasons. And it's a rumor that it was out there, but if that's the trade that was on the table, yeah, I'm making that trade. In the offseason, I think they are looking at trading him personally. Because just the fact of that rumor being out there, you can't pull that back in. You know what I mean? That's out there, man. So it's kind of, even if it's a test in the waters kind of thing, what your worth is now. You have an idea of what it is. 2, Gene is dead on about watching his game on the court. Like, again, Billy Donovan said, I want you to shoot 10 to 15 threes a game. As soon as that comment happened, Zach started taking mid-range. Like, he just became a mid-range guy. You saw it, dude. He be mid-ranging all day long. That's all he does. How many catch and shoots do you see him do anymore? One of the most lethal catch and shoot three-point shooters out there, and he doesn't do it. So that also says something. And the key part of what he said was who his agents was Clutch Sports. This is a Clutch Sports playbook right here. You know what I'm saying? Like, getting you the contract, getting your money, you throwing a fit, however you throw a fit. Some people yell it, some people do it on the floor, some people do it quietly. However you throw it, they say, well, this guy's not happy here. We'll get him out of here and in the situation that he really, really wants to be in. It feels like it's right out of the Clutch Sports handbook, watching Zach LaVine play and watching how he's doing. That's how it feels. But it's hard for me to say that because I've been watching this Zach LaVine in the fourth quarter since he's been here. That's what he's been. You know what I mean? He's been turning it over in the fourth quarter. I hate when he dribbles. I'm always yelling when he dribbles the basketball. Like, the stats show you're better when you don't do that. and he don't want to be like that. You know what I mean? He wants to do it his own kind of way. So yeah, I just think that chemistry is off. And also, if he's having issues with Billy Donovan, then how's that going to work? Because guess what? They gave you your contract. Well, then they gave Billy Donovan a couple extra years too. You know what I mean? So if you don't get along with the coach and both of y'all are here, something's going to have to give. You know, something's going to have to break in that instance, man. I'm okay with Zach leaving. I'm okay with it. I'll be fine with it, just as long as they get some things back, because I don't want them to miss out on this draft. And it's just not working as far as the chemistry is concerned, and as far as what he can bring to this team in the role that he's in right now. It just doesn't work, you know, without that surefire point guard, you know what I'm saying, to get everybody in the spots they need to be. You saw it work great, you know what I mean, when they had one, but they don't have it. You know what I mean? When you got 4 point guards, you got none. You know what I mean? So they don't have a point guard like that. So when you don't have that and you're steady trying to figure it out, and you're like, well, I got to lean on Zach, and he's giving you the skills that he doesn't possess to do those kind of things. Yeah, man, you got to get something for him, though. Yes. But yes, I think they are going to look at trading him, though, in the offseason.
See, here's my whole thing with that. I think I feel like if the Bulls record were like they were in the top 4 or 5, all this stuff wouldn't be this wouldn't be an issue.
Sure,
I feel like
cures everything. Yeah.
Yeah. So we wouldn't be hearing all these rumors about Zach and and Coach D are not getting along and all these trade rumors and such. I mean, for me, okay, if you want to trade Zach during the offseason, try to get something from him, fine. But I know Terrence said, hey, blow it up. But do you think Bulls fans are going to want to sit through another rebuild? I mean, look what's been happening in Orlando for the last 15 years. Yeah, yes, Eugene. Yes.
They will sit through another rebuild.
Yes.
I think some.
Can I be honest? Can I be honest? Did we actually stop rebuilding?
Yeah. Thank you, Josh.
What you say, Josh? I don't think
we stopped rebuilding. And to Big Dave's point, I was answering this question off of what I see in the locker room and everything. But for my opinion, I'm cool with letting them go as long as you get something back. I would actually wouldn't be surprised if he got traded. So I'm not necessarily against that. However, we've been rebuilding for a long time. We still are. Because if you think last year was a super big success, you made the playoffs to the first round of playoffs and you lost. You only won 1 playoff game. I don't know if that's major success when you compare to everything else that I think you can compare it to everybody else because Garb Hacks was just so bad. But at the same time, like, I think the critics of fans that we always have when it comes to critiquing fans. What is your level? What is your bar? What is your setting? What is your consistent bar that you want to hold the team, against? You're going to put them to the fire when it comes to championship success? Because last time I checked, we're one of the top 5 franchises that have the most championships in the league, in league history. So if we're a winning franchise, we should be always thinking championships. Right now, we're just thinking about getting back to the playoffs. And even after last year's playoffs, we didn't say, "Oh, let's go for a championship." We said, "Oh, let's go make the second round." What? Like, we should be winning championship franchise. This is championship culture. So it's not just the Bulls setting the bar high or should be setting the bar higher to achieve what really you're in the league for, but at the same time, fans holding this franchise to the fire and saying we're done with the mediocrity. We're done with the insanity. We want championships. We don't need just playoff appearances or just barely getting to the playoffs. We actually need a championship. And that's on both ends, as fans, as well as the people running the front office and the players, coaches, etc.
Mediocrity is the best spot for ownership, man.
You always say another mother word there, Eugene. You always say another mother word.
The money's gonna be made.
Yeah, regardless. So let's talk about the NBA as a whole then, so we can kind of be in more uplifting moods here. Eugene, I'll start with you. Who's been your kind of like your your surprises, disappointments, teams, players
around the league?
Around the league, yes, sir. Around the league.
Man, that's a good question. You put me on the spot there. I'll tell you what I'm not a fan of, and maybe this is going off. So I was watching the Phoenix Suns and the Clippers last night, and they both got a whole new team.
Yeah.
The Suns got Terrence Ross.
Yep.
They got who else did they have? Obviously they got KD now.
Right.
And I look on the Clippers side, they got Bones Highland from Denver. They got Eric Gordon.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
You know, they'll probably get Westbrook or somebody else in the next couple
Right.
weeks.
The Suns got TJ Warren too. Yeah.
TJ Warren. I'm really not a fan of the way what the league has turned into. Maybe I'm old school. Maybe I sound like the Grouch or some old fart, but I'm not a fan of that, man. I'm just not a fan of it. And it doesn't make the parity in the league is off. It's like, okay, now there's who's going to be, it's going to be Phoenix, the Clippers, Milwaukee, or Boston. I mean, it's got to be.
You're Final Four? Okay.
Just from looking at the rosters. Now, anything can happen. Like Dame, I'm a Dame guy. So like Dame said, when you look around the league as a star player, as a superstar player, you feel like no team can't be beat. But at the end of the day, you have to be real with yourself. When you look at a team like the Phoenix Suns with Devin Booker, Chris Paul, KD, DeAndre Ayton, now they got TJ Warren, Terrence Ross, and these guys coming off the Oak. It's like they should sweep the playoffs. And then even the Lakers. Now they get Mo Bamba, and now they got Rui Hachimura, and now they got D'Angelo. Like, come on, man. Like, I'm not a huge fan of that. But as far as surprises around the league, I'll ask you guys this, and then you can move on to Josh and Big Dave. Do you guys think Jokic deserves to win his third straight MVP?
We talked about that on Monday. Actually, we were talking the last couple of weeks. I know Sid's been a very high. Who have you been high on? I forgot. Who you been high on? I know you go ahead.
Yeah, for me, it's Joel Embiid number 1 right now, and Jason Tatum number 2 as far as MVP is concerned. You can throw Giannis in there too, but you guys know as well as I do, voters are human soon. They get voter fatigue. So I think it's between Tatum and Joel Embiid right now for MVP.
So are they having better seasons than Jokic?
Statistically, no, but here's the thing about Embiid. He's been healthy for the most part this year. I know Tatum got off to a nice hot start. He's cooled off. I know he's starting to pick it back up again. But for me personally, it's Joel Embiid. I know he's been denied the last couple of years due to injuries, but for the most part, he's been healthy this year. And he knows with all the healthy parts returning to Philadelphia and Tyrese Maxey, and of course, James Harden settling into his role, it's made Embiid that much better. And Philadelphia is starting to win too. Not too many people are talking about them. So Joel Embiid is not my number 1 pick for MVP right now. Of course, Dave and Josh knows that at the start of the season we did our preview show. I said Paul George, but that's gonna go out the window now. So
hey, we was confused then.
We were out. Yes, we were. Well, look, I've said this, and I've constantly said it. I think unless Jokic, someone takes it from Jokic, it's Jokic to lose. I think there are I'm sure there are gonna be some guys that, both, I should say, because there are females in the panel too that are not gonna want to vote for Jokic because he already won twice already. But look at his numbers. He got another triple-double in the last week. So I feel, and plus his team, as we're recording this, they're the top, in the West right now. So I feel like that's, a big, thing. So I think until Embiid or Tatum or someone else, comes off, once KD gets back or once Steph gets back, if he comes back, I think one of them could knock him off. But I think it's Jokic, and I think it's Jokic to lose.
Oh man, see, I'm like Sid. I want Joel Embiid. Joel Embiid's my number 1 right now. The reason why I have him number 1 is not only is he putting up career highs in points, field goals, rebounds, and all across the board, he's also winning. But he was also doing a lot of winning without James Harden next to him. He really kept the Sixers afloat as a top 3 team in the Eastern Conference before James Harden came back and started playing in the way that we know James Harden is playing now. So I think that plays into consideration, especially since he was snubbed in a lot of ways as the runner-up of the MVP the past couple of years. I think that plays a role. But let's be serious here. Jokic is running away with this thing. And the only reason why he's running away with this thing, the dude is the only player to have 1,000+ points, 500+ rebounds, 500+ assists in the same season.
Yep.
No one else has even 1,000 and 400 of each. So you talking about a huge gap between Jokic and all the other MVPs, and the fact that he is averaging a triple-double as a center?
Crazy.
That changes the game in such a way where this is starting to feel like, honestly, like Russ's MVP year, where he was the only point guard to average a triple-double. And even though OKC wasn't a top team in the Western Conference, it was so impressive that it's like, oh, we just got to give it to him because he earned it. Like, he literally earned that award.
Right.
This is a season where, at this point, if Nikola Jokic is keeping this up, he earned this award. You can argue the other couple years, but this one for sure, he actually earned this one.
Well, look, and even to Russ's point, Russ averaged a 30-point triple-double, which is even crazy. And people just poo-poo on that kind of stuff. But, that's another story. Jokic right now, I think Josh is right, is running away with it. I mean, for everything you just said. But for me, I feel like of all the years he's won, this is the best and easiest argument to make because you can really just look at it and see it. You can say you're the best team in the league and you're averaging a triple-double as a center. That's simple. You know what I mean? All those other years, people had to, go to master classes, and go to graduate school and pull out these numbers on cats, you know what I mean, to understand it and break it down. And look, I'm a historian, bro, when it comes to basketball. So the reason I was against it last year, because I'm like, well, even with Steve Nash, I didn't think he deserved back-to-back then. I was like, he's the only one that's never been to a finals. No other back-to-back MVP had ever done that. Jokic did not win. He was the first back-to-back MVP to not win 50 games in a season in either year that he won. Right. He's the first one. You know what I mean? And for me, that always bothered me. I always thought you had to get 50 wins at least. You know what I'm saying? To be an MVP. Damn you what your numbers, your back numbers say, and all those are great. But are you winning? You were what, 5th or 6th seed? And you get, come on, man. You know what I mean? Like, I feel like you have to do astronomical things if you're 5th or 6th seed to get the MVP. Right. But that's another point. This year, though, yes, I think he definitely has it. And Sid, I think your best point you forgot to make about Embiid was when they play head-to-head, Embiid bust his ass. It's real nasty. You know what I'm saying? Bust him real nasty, bro, when they went head-to-head. You know what I mean? He really did. Right. But even besides that, Jokic has just been incredible and amazing. And he plays in a way that you can't even put a finger on, man. Like, he just has I don't care kind of vibe when he's playing. It doesn't mean anything to him. You know what I mean? He just likes going out there and winning, and he dominates you, and you don't even know it. You know what I'm saying? Like, you don't even have a clue that this is happening until you look up. He's got 36, 13, and 11, and you like, when did that happen? Like, I remember the game he played the Bulls, and I watched him dominate the entire game, and that man had 14, 14, and 14. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's crazy. That's crazy. You know what I mean? But yeah, I give it to Jokic, man. I think of all the years, he's earned it for this one, but now he's getting into real straight up historic territory. Like, he got to go win a finals now. I ain't trying to hit just getting there. You 3 MVPs and you can't win one? Nope, I ain't accepting that, because those are other conversations I can't have him in if he can't even go win a finals, winning 3 MVPs, bro. He got to win 1.
And who the last 2 were? Wilt and Larry Legend, right?
Larry.
Yeah, the last back-to-back.
They both won ships in one of those
in their career.
That whole span. Yep.
Okay.
Yep. Yeah, Larry definitely did, and Wilt definitely did too, because he was winning 8 of them joints. Yeah, for sure.
Okay.
We're halfway home with our Bulls NBA Power Hour right here on Sports Zone Chicago on our Fun Friday edition. We're live and live in color. I'm Sid. That's Lakeena. We're joined by Josh Hicks and Eugene McIntosh of It's the Bigs. Of course, Josh Hicks, also part of Warr Media, and Big Dave Watson from CHGO, who covers the Chicago Bulls for the great podcast network. I want to stick with the NBA with the surprises. Our buddy Lamont Scott checking in from our Facebook page at Sports Zone Chicago's Facebook page or Sports Zone Chicago YouTube. Type your questions or comments in the comments section. He asked, the panel, what do you think about the Sacramento Kings this year? Lakeena, I've been saying all year, Mike Brown, he should be the head coach of the year. As long as they stay out of the play-in tournament situation, he should be getting strong consideration for a head coach of the year. Big Dave, I'll start with you. What do you think about the Sacramento Kings this year?
One, I think you're right. Like, you're third in the West with the Kings, who people probably didn't even think would make a play-in. Like, he's third, you know what I'm saying, in the West. Secondly, I love the Kings. I call them the Kongs. You know what I mean? You know what I mean? Shout out to my man John Sabine. But yeah, man, I've been watching them since they got De'Aaron Fox. I've been a huge De'Aaron Fox fan for a long time, man.
He's going to the All-Star game on Sunday.
Man, I was charged, bro. I was really happy for him that he's able to go. But the minute they got Sabonis, you knew it was going to change some things because he was just the right kind of fit, you know, for that team as far as what they needed, including the toughness along with the skill, you know, but having a point guard as dynamic, you know what I'm saying, as De'Aaron Fox and putting that with Sabonis, who's left-handed. And I keep telling people all the time, if you're left-handed, it's an advantage. Period. Point blank. It's an advantage. Yep. So having him there as well, and then putting him with my guy Lee back there, man. The other young guard they got. I keep forgetting his name, but the rookie guard they had. Say it again.
Iowa.
From Iowa.
Keegan Murray.
Keegan Murray.
Not Keegan Murray. Yes, Keegan Murray, but not him. That's not the one who. God, what's his nickname? I forget everything about this young man right now. I got to look it up. But he's in his second year, I believe, with them, man. But he just always causes havoc when he's out there on the floor with them, man. He's just real fun to watch. But
Davion Mitchell.
Mitchell, yes. Thank you very much. Thank you, sir. Yeah, I love Davion Mitchell. Like, he is a problem all the time out there, not just defensively, but ball handling and what he can do offensively. He's an issue too. Combine that all with Mike Brown, who has to be under that consideration because that's probably the biggest change that they made. Remember, they got rid of Tyrese Halliburton, and everybody thought they were crazy. You know what I mean? Everybody's like, what are y'all doing out there? Now they're third in the West. You know what I mean? And then also the consistency of Harrison Barnes out there, still putting up double-digit points and rebounds for them. You know what I mean? So it's all just clicking just right for them. I think they got the right mix over there, and I'm just really, really happy and excited for them, man, because De'Aaron Fox deserves stuff like that because people were trying to heap a lot of bull on him, you know what I mean, in his career, you know, like he wasn't that guy. But, yeah, he's definitely that dude, man. He's definitely showing it this year. So, yeah, shout out to the King.
All right, Josh, what do you think about the Sacramento Kings this year? You think they'll hold on to make the playoffs?
Yeah, they'll hold on and make the playoffs. This is not the Kings of old when you talk about how bad they've been since Vlade Divac was in offense. It's a completely different Kings franchise, and you know, obviously because of all the names that Big Dave just mentioned, but there's also two other people that were key additions to this year's team that really helped change the dynamic of this team, and that's the shooter Kevin Huerter, who's going to be in a three-point shootout, and Malik Monk, who plays in that backcourt with his former Kentucky Wildcat teammate and De'Aaron Fox. Man, that reunion is paying off big time. And having Mike Brown, who comes from a championship dynasty, and in a lot of ways has really learned to grow in a winning culture, has finally taken some of what he's learned to bring the discipline necessary to apply to such a young team. And that's always a question mark when it comes to coaching young teams, because young teams have to learn and develop the discipline necessary to take these game plans game by game and execute at a high efficient level. They're doing it at such a rate that, quite frankly, you have no choice but to consider Mike Brown as the front and the lead of the head of the coach of the year candidacy, since the Kings were at the bottom of the Western Conference last season, coming into this season. And outside of the Sacramento Kings, another team that was like that at the beginning was the Pelicans. You know, very similar situations within the same realm. But the Kings have shown the resiliency, the discipline, and the consistency that makes them the team to beat, or one of the teams to beat, in the Western Conference this year. And that's all Mike Brown. That's discipline. That's the growth of De'Aaron Fox as a leader as well as a player. And pairing him with Domantas Sabonis and the other reinforcements that have taken this team to that next level, which is something we didn't expect at this rate. We knew it was coming per se, as long as the Kings continue to get better, but not at this quick of a rate. This acceleration of a rate is completely it's incredible to watch and acknowledge.
Gene, what do you think about the Sacramento Kings this year?
Man, I agree with both of the guys, man. I think the Kings have done an outstanding job. Like Big Dave said, when they got rid of Tyrese Halliburton, people were like, man, what the hell are the Kings doing? But, you know, that's why we living room couch GMs and those other guys in charge of organizations, you know. So they knew what they had in De'Aaron Fox. I remember we were having this debate, maybe not last year, but the year before, about was De'Aaron Fox a top 10 point guard in the league. And there was so many people that didn't think he was. And I'm like, man, y'all are tripping, but just give a guy a little bit of time because he's as skilled and he's as talented as any of those guys. So, you know, sometimes it takes some guys longer to blossom, different situations, takes the right teammates, takes the right organization, takes the right people in charge to get that thing going. So Sabonis and De'Aaron leading the way, Mike Brown having a hell of a job, you know, leading those guys. I think through 57 games, they've been as good as anybody. But this is my thing, guys. They are number 3 in the West?
Yes.
They've got 32 wins. The Lakers are number 13 in the West, and they've got 27 wins. So a little bit of a losing streak and a little bit of a winning streak for anybody in between. And that's the Clippers, the Suns, the Mavs, the Pelicans. We don't know what's going on with Zion. The T-Wolves, we know about the Golden State Warriors when Steph gets back. The Thunder, they're in 10th, so they're okay, but I feel like they'll be bottoming out. But Shai Gilgeous is having an unbelievable season.
Yeah.
The Jazz started out hot. Blazers started out hot before Dame got hurt. And then you got the Lakers at 13. So there's a lot of room right there for a lot of those teams. And this is my biggest thing. And me and Josh talk about this. Me, Josh, and Terrence talk about this all the time. Teams that have been there before and know what it takes to get to the playoffs and make a playoff run, this is when they start to pick it up. That first half of the season, even when you talk about the Clippers and PG and Kawhi trying to find themselves, trying to get themselves healthy so they can lead the charge. Teams like that, they start to pick it up in the second half. So I hope the Sacramento Kings can hold on. I don't know if they're going to stay in the top 4 or 5. I do expect them to make the playoffs, even if they have to, if they slip down to a play-in tournament and have to win, to play in to get in. But regardless, Sacramento Kings have had a hell of a season so far.
That's really like my only thing with Sacramento is like, can they? I don't think they're going to be the number 3 seed. I think they think, like you said, Eugene. I think they'll probably get to like maybe like 7 or 8, and that's probably about it. I think they'll still make the playoffs regardless. But I think the Suns are going to make a move, especially when KD gets back. I think the Lakers might make a little bit of a move too if they can kind of get themselves together there too. I think the Clippers will get up there as well. So yeah, I think there's a lot of move and maneuver, especially in that Western Conference. So I think there's still a lot in that Western Conference. So there are going to be a lot of teams that are going to be beating each other up in these next couple of months.
All right, before we get to the All-Star festivities for the weekend, Dave, I'll start with you. We talk about the Western Conference. Me and Lakeena talked about this on our last show on Monday regarding Kyrie and the Dallas Mavericks. Now he's paired up with Luka. Lakeena expects any day now for Kyrie to step on his own 2 feet. I say that Kyrie's going to behave himself because he's looking for fresh paper this summer. What say you about Kyrie and the Dallas Mavericks? Do you think they'll make a move in terms of the playoffs? Do you think they'll get back to at least the Western Conference Finals like they did a year ago?
Oh, that one's tougher to answer just because of how deep the West is. Like Gene just said, just a quick losing streak and anybody's out the playoffs. You're going from 3rd to nothing, in a week. That can happen to you. So that one's tough to say. I do think they'll make the playoffs. Again, I'm under the idea that, you have 2 all-NBA players on your team, you go to the playoffs. It's like having how I feel like if you have 2 great 7-footers on your team, you go to the playoffs. Like, that's just how I feel. But yeah, I think they'll like Kyrie Irving, man, he's just too damn good. Like, he's just too damn skilled. Like, top 3 layup package and handles like in NBA history for me. You know what I mean? Like, that dude, it's incredible watching him play basketball like that. And I think you're on point with that, Sid. I know his money don't really mean nothing to him like that, but the freedom that money gets him and what he can give back from that money, you know what I'm saying? I'm sure it means something to him. You know what I'm saying? So how he can help others. Because if you look at his track record, that dude, he's helped too many people, you know what I mean? And done a ton of things, you know what I mean, with his money, ton of wonderful things with his money. So I think that plays into it as well. So yeah, I don't think you'll hear anything out of Kyrie, like as far as this year is concerned. I think it's just going to be about basketball for him. They're going to try, you know what I'm saying, of course, to get these questions to him, you know what I mean, and all the other stuff. But I'm telling you, just going to hear a bunch of, man, I ain't focused on that or no comment. You're going to hear a lot of that from Kyrie Irving, as you should, you know what I mean? So I think they'll make the playoffs. I don't know how deep they'll go. You guys know I had Luka as like my dark horse MVP. You know what I mean? I thought he was super. What he was doing early on was just insane for this team. But just like any great player like that, you need help. You know what I mean? And so getting Kyrie Irving like that, another star who can take that off of him, as soon as they figure it out how to play off of each other, you know what I mean? Because they know how to play without each other. They know what the team knows. You saw it when Luka was gone. They knew instinctively what to do with Kyrie because Kyrie keeps the ball moving. You know what I mean? Luka, he's a little more, he's got to take his time with it. They both work. You know what I'm saying? Both their things work. But they got to figure it out with each other. I think they got the right coach for that in Jason Kidd as well to help out with that. And yeah, man, I think they'll be formidable. Nobody wants, because at the end of the day in the playoffs, bro, like Bill Russell said, it's about buckets. And them are two of the best bucket getters out there, man. So it's gonna be a thing.
Terrence. Wait, whichever. I want to go first.
Let's go with Josh first.
I don't think the man's gonna have too many issues. Kyrie has already dealt with a lot of headaches when you talk about all the stuff that he's went through within the first in the first few months of the season. I think he just wants to ball and just focus on trying to do what he can to win a championship. He's with a great situation as far as playing with another superstar. After dropping off from playing with Kevin Durant, he's playing with a superstar in Luka Doncic. He has a coach that he really does like, and from what I've heard, Jason Kidd is actually one of the people that would have lured Kyrie to the Lakers earlier had the Lakers hired Jason Kidd instead of Frank Vogel at the time. From hearing from that, Kyrie grew up watching Jason Kidd, so he has a lot of respect for Jason Kidd as a head coach. And let's not forget this domino here effect too. Mark Cuban is the real deal. That owner, Mark Cuban, knows he's a player-friendly coach. Player-friendly owner, and he also knows how to relate with players, and he's willing to do what it takes to get the job done, especially when the situations are right. This is one of the reasons why he was able to land Kyrie here in Dallas. So because of that, I don't think they'll go too far in the playoffs. I think it's going to take actually a lot more time on Luka's part, not Kyrie, to get adapted to the chemistry of the two. Because Luka, this is going to be Luka's first chance where he's actually playing off the ball in some cases and doing it at a more higher rate than he did previously. And Kyrie has shown that he can play off the ball because he's done it with LeBron, he's done it with KD. So he knows how to play without the ball. But this is going to take some time for Luka to adapt. And I don't know if they have enough time between now and the playoffs to really adapt to a point where they can win consistent basketball in a 7-game series. I don't know if they have that just yet. But the key for the Mavs is post this season, post the playoffs. Do they actually sign Kyrie Irving and get him to stay long-term? Which, if anyone can do it, one of the people that can is Mark Cuban. It's definitely a possibility. But I know one thing to consider is, obviously we've heard rumors that KD and Kyrie may want to get back together again. It's not completely the end for that. Dallas needs a big man. Don't be surprised if a sign and trade does take place for Kyrie to go to Phoenix and they get Aiden back in return. That's something that could be on the table, knowing that Dallas actually really does need more big man help than guard help. And Mark Cuban doesn't want to leave Kyrie for nothing. And I know he's not going to let that happen. So that's something to consider moving forward. But as of right now, there's a chance they have a chance to make a deep run, but I don't think they have enough time to get the gelling together in the way that they have, especially if Luka has a hard time staying healthy on the court, which he has this season with those heel and ankle injuries. That they need a lot more time than they have now to really build that chemistry.
Eugene?
Yeah, I agree with the guys. I think offensively it'll take a little bit of time for them to gel together. Like Josh said, more on Luka's side than Kyrie, because Kai has that experience playing with those other superstars. We saw it the other night when they couldn't even get a shot off at the end of the game because they were like passing back and forth. And Luka, Kyrie, obviously he's one of those guys. So he felt like he didn't, even though he had a dub in the fourth quarter, it's like, am I overstepping my boundaries? Let me get it back to Luka because this is his squad. But Luka's like, no, let me get it back to you because you got the dub and, you got the hot hand. So them just filling each other out in in-game situations, I think those type of things, they're going to have to work out quick. But my biggest thing about the Mavericks is the defense because neither one of those guys are stoppers. Neither one of those guys are known defenders. And when you look at what happened, they gave away their best defender in Dorian Finney-Smith. And he's a guy who, in those late game situations, he could guard anywhere from the 1 through the 4. You could throw him on Steph. You could throw him on Dame. You could throw him on whoever that point guard is or whoever the guy with the hot hand is on the other team. I'm not saying he's going to stop him, but he has the best chance with his length and, his ability to move, to get the job done. So I think they're going to miss the most going down the stretch and making that playoff run. I think they're going to miss the defense of Dorian Finney-Smith to be able to allow Luka to guard or Kai to guard the second and third and fourth best players. And that, because one of those guys are going to have to guard, because most of the scores are the 1 through the 3. You got your ADs here and there and your Zion and, those type of guys. But most of the scores in the NBA are wing players. And Dorian Finney-Smith was the guy that you throw on those guys in late game situations to keep Luka fresh, to keep Kai fresh, and to give those guys the best chance to win. So defensively, they're going to have a problem.
Yeah, I agree. I think as long as, I know I did a little time thing earlier, but I think at Kyrie, as long as they're winning, I think he'll stay on his best behavior, I hope. Wrapping things up. Well, we got a few more minutes left with our buddies here on our NBA Bulls roundtable. Of course, Warr is Josh is also from from the Bigs. Also from the Bigs, one of the founding members, Eugene McIntosh. So, of course, our other buddy, Big Dave Watson from CHGO. As we're wrapping things up here, there was a rumor that there was a report that came out, going to switch gears to NBA media for a second. CNBC put out a report saying that perhaps maybe NBC might make a go at the NBA new TV deal when that gets going here in a couple of years, maybe next year. I think is sort of like when the contracts are up. So, Dave, I'll start with you. What do you think about perhaps maybe the prospect of the NBA returning to NBC?
I mean, to borrow a term from Gene, I'm old school, so I'm with it. You know what I mean? And I mean, especially if I get Round Ball Rock back up in there, if I get that song going with that, yeah. You know what I'm saying?
Gosh, yes.
Let me get some of that. Let me get some of that John Test popping off. Real sweet. Let me get that going, man. So yeah, I would love it to see it, because I don't know how you all feel about it, but it's felt weird for me. Basketball has, since it left NBC. I watch it. I love it. It's great. But the coverage of it is a little bit different for me. And maybe it's just because, again, of what I'm used to, of what I grew up with, and what I know, is Marv Albert, what I'm saying, and the czar of the telestrator, Mike Fratello, you know what I mean? And watching the Rashad, what I'm saying, and watching Bob Costas, though I know huge Bob Costas fan, I'm just used to it, you know what I mean? And Bill Walton, what I'm saying, and Steve Snapper Jones and all these cats, you know what I'm saying?
Pat Riley, too, doing his first year before he took the Knicks job.
Right. Yes, exactly. He was in there for a second. Magic and Isaiah, was on for a little bit, you know what I mean? Like, I remember those kind of things, and I guess I equate that with that. But even for getting the Bulls, like even in the 2000s, when I think of Allen Iverson, you know what I'm saying? And those things kind of come back to mind. When I think of the Lakers when they were three-peating, those things kind of come back to mind. So yeah, I would like to know who they bring with them if this does happen. Will there be some of the broadcasters, coming over? Because I do like Mike Breen a lot, and I do like Van Gundy and Mark Jackson, that whole trio, a lot. Will they come with that? You know what I mean? I think that'll be interesting also as well. But no, bottom line, yeah, I'll be with it as long as they bring in Round Ball Rock back. If they bringing that back, I'm definitely on board.
Eugene?
I'm with Big Dave, man. This is what I grew up on. Even like he said, if they're going to bring it back, then let's go back to the essence. How about we bring back inside stuff?
Yes. Yes.
Let's take it all the way back. So I'm going to keep it short, sweet, and funky. Come on, NBC. Y'all got the money. Let's do it. Let's
Right.
take me back to my childhood, man. I'm not mad at Mike Breen and Mark Jackson and those guys. Like Dave said, we love the game, we love the sport, we love everything about it. So we'll take what we can get. But if they can take me back to my childhood and kind of bring it, to the new era in 2023 and beyond, I'm 100% for it, man.
Word.
Josh, the youngest member of this crew here.
Yes, bring it back. I am the youngest of the member of this crew, of course. However, I did grow up as when you think about watching the classic games, when you watch on the classics, back when you used to have NBA classics, ESPN classic TV channels, and you watch the throwback games. What's playing with the throwback games? The NBC theme songs, the NBC coverage. And I remember even growing up watching Allen Iverson and the Lakers of that era playing in that realm. So I would love for them to bring that back. If they do, please bring the theme song back. We need that. And on top of that, Big Dave, you talked about what people could be coming over. To be real honest with you, I would love them to hit up TNT and be like, yo, Chuck, Shaq, let's buy you out of those contracts and bring you right on over. Because if TNT ain't making if they lose out on this bid, all they got is NBA TV at this point. You might as well just bring those heavy hitters over and say, hey, Chuck, Shaq, Ken, Ernie, you might as well come too. Bring them all over. Bring what you already got, which is the best, to me, the best basketball show in today's run inside the NBA on TNT. Bring that on over to NBC. Let them go to work. Bring the theme song. Oh, that'll be perfect. They'll be perfect. So I think that's what should happen, but I'm definitely all for it.
Real quick, Lakeena, Eugene's about to make me cry right now because especially around this time of All-Star weekend, especially on those programs on Saturday, during the All-Star weekend on Saturday mornings with those stay-in-school celebrations. Of course, if you were in Chicago, especially during the 90s, you either watch Soul Train, especially with Don Cornelius, so Channel 9, or you watch Inside Stuff. It came on at 11 o'clock. Some of those Saturdays, I forgot Soul Train was on. That's how great Inside Stuff was. If you were a hardcore sports fan, hardcore NBA fan, Inside Stuff was the show for you. Trust me. There was a few Saturdays that I forgot that Soul Train was on. That was just me. But yeah, if they can bring back some of those things they did in the 90s, like you guys said, so be it. But let's not forget too, some of those games will be exclusively on Peacock as well, because the NBA is the only league out of those four major sports that don't have an exclusive deal on streaming. So some of the games will be streamed as well.
Yeah,
that's a good point. I think what Gene said was also important, that we want to relive the old school and child, but it's important to bring it forward. You know what I'm saying? Into the new generation. You know what I'm saying? To build on it and not just stay back there, because that's how you don't grow. You know what I mean? It's staying where you at. So you want to build on it, put their things and incorporate that as well. You know what I'm saying? Into what's going on, man. So I'm with it.
We can start with Like Mike.
What'd you say, Josh? I'm sorry.
So we can start with Like Mike.
Happy birthday to MJ, Joe. Happy 60th to MJ.
Happy birthday to the GOAT, man.
Yeah.
Happy birthday.
Happy birthday, MJ. Yeah, 60 years old.
GOAT,
yeah.
Dude, I don't think people understand Chicagoans that, and Josh, again, it's no disrespect to you, but you weren't born in 84.
No.
So us being able to watch every move, every stinking move from the inception, man, from the day Mike stepped foot on Chicago soil until the end of the second three-peat. People outside of Chicago, they can't understand why we're Big Mike to death like that, man. Even with LeBron breaking the record, I'm happy for him. He deserves it. He's an all-time great, one of Mount Rushmore, whatever you want to say. But we're talking about Big Mike, man. There is no other, man. We don't even have to get into the 6 for 6. We don't have to get into and I'm gonna run it down, the 10 scoring titles, the 6 finals MVPs, the 5 league MVPs, the 9 first team all defensive times, the defensive player of the year, the slam dunk champion, and whatever else you want to run down. We don't even have to get into that. I'm talking about the eye test. There has never been another guy to play the game of basketball like Michael Jordan. And again, I don't want to get into the GOAT debates, especially with the younger generation. Of course, they're going to think LeBron is the GOAT, and that's fine. That's fine. But for us, the guys who were alive in the 80s and were able to watch the Bulls win those first 3 and then win those last 3 and everything before that, in between that, and after that, it's only one, man, Big Mike, the GOAT.
Yes, sir. Listen, I'll tell you this real quick. My household was strict, you know what I'm saying, when it came to TV or things like that. You know, my moms and my pops were strict on that stuff, especially my mom. So we didn't have cable, you know what I mean, coming up as a shorty. The Bulls were playing, I believe it was the Knicks in the playoffs. And I want to say it was game 2. And my mother was like, yo, go turn the game on. I'm like, we can't watch the game. She's like, what you mean? I was like, it's on cable. She's like, it's on cable. It's not on regular TV. She's like, no. And she was like, call the cable company right now. We getting cable.
Now.
What? You know what I'm saying? What? Bro, I mean, I was on the phone for 2 hours. Just hold. I'm on hold. Don't even move it. I'm on hold. It was, y'all understand, it was monumental in my house to get something like that. And it was because of Michael Jordan and the Bulls. She didn't want to miss the game. We got cable because of Michael Jordan, because we didn't want to miss this stuff, bro. Because that's the kind of greatness. There's so many, like, and when I have arguments with people about Jordan, and I love them. I love Jordan arguments, man, because I always kill them. Like it's the best argument to have. It's because easy. I have undebatable things. You know what I'm saying? Like you can't debate that the man has a jersey retired for a team he's never even played for. You know what I mean? Like your number's retired in Miami with the Heat. It's retired. You got to segregate a sport to get something like that if you ain't never played for the team. You know what I'm saying? Like he just got it because he's that good at his sport. You know what I'm saying? Like that's how dope you are. Like LeBron couldn't wear the number. Jimmy can't wear the number for a team you never played for, dog. You can't. There's no argument for that. You know what I'm saying? Like that's crazy. Like you're that good. That I've never seen nothing like him. I don't know if I'll see anything else like him, but that's what great players are. They all are like people I've never seen. Tim Duncan, Hakeem Olajuwon, LeBron, Kobe, all these guys. You know what I'm saying? Or AI. I ain't never seen it. You know what I'm saying? I'm like, wow, this is Shaq, whoever you want to throw in there. But Mike is different, especially coming in at a time where centers ran the world in the NBA and then completely transformed all that, which is, again, why I think you see big 7'4" dudes with handles now. I put that on Mike because that's what they grew up watching. You know what I'm saying? It wasn't they weren't showing the film on, they would watch the film on Bill Russell, they would watch the film on Wilt, but they were watching Mike, period. You know what I'm saying? Because there's something about it, man. Like AI said, you see his glow, you see the aura when he walk out there. You see it. You know what I mean? On that kind of guy, man. So yeah, he's just special. He's the greatest ever. I've never seen nothing like it. The minute I got my father to admit it, then I knew I was doing something. Because he ain't like Mike at all. He was like, man, no, he be 6 man on my team, bro. You know what I'm saying? Like he was like, because he used to tell me, he'd be like, yo, I grew up watching Wilt, bro. I grew up watching Wilt. I grew up watching Bill. I grew up watching Elgin Baylor. I saw these cats. You know what I'm saying? He was like, that's what I'm talking about.
Yep.
After Mike's, I believe, 3rd or 4th title, he was like, all right. He was like, all right. Yeah, he was like, all right. All right, man. This is special. So yeah, shout out to the GOAT.
Yeah, don't forget cable was much cheaper back then. You didn't have as many channels as you do now.
Streaming services. Oh yeah, streaming service. Yeah, does the streaming services now just about throws a new one being invented. So yeah. Simpler times all lived in. Simpler times. But yeah, that's why I do wish maybe it was still on CBS. So I mean,
Stockton.
Hubie Brown, Tom Heitzen. A young Doug Collins before he coached the Bulls with his curly hair. Oh,
yes.
I took it back.
With the hair.
Took it way back. Yeah.
With the hair, yeah. With the hair, my gosh. All right. So you got anything else for our panel before we disperse?
Real quick, I'll be watching all the old school stay in school celebrations via this YouTube in the morning because I'm like you, Dave and Gene. I'm a historic buff like anybody else that grew up in our time. But and I'm glad that we have shows like this because we are real 100%. But seriously, can you guys convince me because I'm not really hyped up for this All-Star weekend. I'm interested to see how they're going to do the player introductions on Sunday to pick a team for Team Giannis and Team LeBron. But outside of that, I'm not too excited about this. So can anybody convince me to watch All-Star weekend? Because right now, I'll be honest with you, outside of the beginning of the game on Sunday, I don't have it right now. I really don't.
Oh, yeah. I got 2 words for you. Lowry Markkinen. Go watch my guy. Go watch my guy, son. Y'all see me on my apology tour this year. Oh, my God.
Oh, yes.
I've been coming for my apologies from everybody, left and right. I ain't forgot none of that. I ain't forget none of it. My man is the starter.
Man, been on one, Big Dave. I can't even.
Hey, man, like my nephew was like, dude, ain't nobody see this coming. I was like, yeah, me. What are you talking about? I saw it coming. You know you didn't. I had to show him receipts. You know what I'm saying? For people I told this too. I was like, dude, no, I said it. When he went to Utah, he will ball. Like I knew it. You know what I mean? You can see it because it's nothing in Utah. It's like Finland, bro. He's basically at home. You know what I'm saying? Everybody look like him and it's cold. You know what I'm saying? Like he's at home.
Nothing else to do.
But hoop. You know what I'm saying? That's it. It's ball out and hoop. And he is super comfortable and took everything that he learned that he's going there now. He loves Utah, man. So, but shout out to my guy. He's an all-star starter. He's in the 3-point contest. Yeah, you know what I mean? Check him out, man. And he's representing Utah because the game is there. So that's mine for you, Sid, is watching my man Lowry and know that I'll be happy.
Oh man,
Josh,
I'll
you got any?
Yeah, I'll say this: white men can't jump. I'm watching Matt McClung. I'm watching Matt McClung do his thing, man. I'm watching this dunk contest. I think he's gonna sneak up and get it. I really do.
Wow, I gotta see this, man.
Sneak up and get it.
Did he just get signed?
He did 10-day with the
he did. He just got signed. Yep.
Right on.
Yep, just got signed.
Man, I'm thinking about I was watching D Wade and the other guy that he's always with, one of the owners of the Jazz, and they said this year was going to be the most technologically advanced All-Star game in the history. So I'm looking to see starting tonight just exactly what they mean by that. So that's going to be my biggest takeaway. We know the game. No, it's not going to be interesting until that fourth quarter when they throw that the TBT rule in there and the guys get serious.
Yeah,
that the way they choose the players, I think that'll be interesting because won't they need jerseys from both sides for all players? Because who knows what side they're going to be on? Which is nothing. I mean, it's nothing for them to have some extra jerseys, but I think that's just another twist to make it interesting. I think it's a cool thing. It takes us back to the days when we were going to the court in the hood and, you shot for first and the first 2 guys to hit, they picked the rest of the squad. So that's I think that's a cool element to it. But hey, man, just another All-Star weekend, another year to celebrate the best players in the league. And hopefully all those guys get out of there healthy. Hopefully Giannis is straight and he can, play. I know a lot of fans are going to be out there, wanting to see him. So it's cool, man. It's not the old school like we grew up on, but I'm happy to see another one. Happy to see these guys, do it for the fans, and let's see what the second half of the season holds.
Right.
That's gonna be very interesting. The technologically sound. I'm wondering what does that mean? Are we getting like is it gonna be like the court in Oregon? Because I can't watch a full basketball game. I can't do it. That floor is just
Yes,
you got not good. But Yeah, you can check out all the All-Star activities on ESPN. Will have the celebrity game. Excuse me, tonight on Friday and Saturday, of course. TNT's got you covered with all the All-Star festivities, from the 3-point, from the slam dunk, among other great surprises and such. So that should be fun. And of course, they will also have the game as well. They're actually going to be introducing the reserves first, as LeBron and Giannis are picking them. So it's going to be really, really weird to see who gets picked last. That's what I'm looking forward to. Who's going to get picked last? Who's going to get that weird look from one of them? So that'll be interesting as well.
One more thing.
Uh-huh.
What is it going to take for All-Star Weekend to implement a one-on-one?
What's it going to take? And what do you mean? Like at
when,
the end of
when
the
do
game?
they just say, you know what, let's scrap the dunk contest and let's add the one-on-one contest with the best 10 players in the league, of maybe not the best 10, but the best one-on-one players in the league, games to 3 or whatever they want. They can find a way to do it. Tracy McGrady just started a one-on-one league, and it was fun. It was fun to watch, and they did a great job of implementing strategies and the ways to make it work. So I think the NBA, they done taken a page out of the TBT's book and added it to All-Star Weekend already. I think they should take another page out of the Hood's book and add the one-on-one, man. I think that would be a very interesting, and make the prize, make it worth it. I mean, a lot of guys, they might say nah, but if it's a couple million involved,
yeah.
So I want to see a one-on-one, man.
I'm with that, and it's going to take some players with that kind of pride and that kind of ego too. You know what I'm saying? That kind of competitive drive to be like, I'm the best. Period. You know what I mean?
Kyrie and Dame. We got guys out there. No matter what, they still live with that old school mentality, and if we got to get down to the nitty gritty, there's some guys in the league that'll do it, man.
I agree. That'd be interesting, man.
You could also make an argument too that even in the All-Star game, you know how we talk about the TBT rule that's being implemented. You could put the Big 3 rule where you got the fire alarm.
Oh yes, yeah, that's
where
a good one too,
if it
Josh,
goes down to the wire, you want to save instead of calling timeout, stuff like that. All right, hit that button. That player goes one-on-one.
Oh man,
that could be the deciding factor of a game or something like that. I think that would be kind of cool too.
That's a good one.
I like
You
that.
might see Josh might not be too far off for that. You might see that in future All-Star weekends. I won't be surprised if that happens.
Yeah, I like that.
Yeah,
the 4-point shot too.
Yeah. 4-point. Oh yeah, the old rock and chuck, a 10-pointer too, somewhere down after the international 3-point line. So that might be something. Yeah, I mean, like Eugene said, get some incentives. Add a car or maybe a couple of million or something. Get a sponsor. One of the car sponsors or something like that, like a 2024 insert Lamborghini or whatever. So add a little bit. So I'm just throwing stuff out there, guys. What can I say? But yeah, add a little something to it. Yeah, spice it up. So some good ideas, guys, as we wrap things up. Our thanks to Josh Hicks, Eugene McIntosh, and Big Dave Watson. Okay, gentlemen, this has been great as always. Where can people find you on your social media, all your your work, publications, videos, all that good stuff? Josh, we'll start with you.
You can follow it all on the Instagram and the Twitter at Josh M. Hicks Media. And obviously a lot of big stuff coming your way, especially between the NBA show Open Run that happens on Warr Media and all Bulls content with the bigs. Don't want to miss out.
Gene?
At It's the Bigs, Twitter, Instagram, www.thebigs.us is the website. Me personally, at Stay Humble on Twitter, or just Google the Bigs, and we all over the place, man. You'll find us some everywhere, man. Just continuing to move this thing forward, and like Josh said, big things on the rise coming soon, man. So always a pleasure locking in with y'all.
And last but definitely not least, Mr. Big Dave.
Yeah, you follow me on Twitter at Bow Sports. Yes, Ball on Bulls is still going on for sure. We just did a show that's out right now with our guy from Finland, Coach Christian Palotti, which was basically a Lowry celebration.
Yes.
So we did that. So check, but it was a lot of great NBA talk though and insight on that show as well. So you can follow me for that. Follow me on Instagram. They're at Ball Sports and at Big Dave CHGO. And, of course, CHGO Bulls with my guy Matt Peck, my guy Will to Go Gottlieb, Mark K from Australia, and myself, on there every day, 5 days, baby, talking about these Bulls, rain or shine, good or bad. We're going to be there talking about this squad, honestly. We're going to speak it. And also, just on another note, I just wanted to send some rest and love to my man Plug 2, True Goy the Dove.
Oh, man.
Yes. Like I was telling people, that was like losing a Beatle, and that's what I was trying to explain, to other folks, bro. Like, it was like losing George Harrison. Like, it was like you losing a Beatle. Like, for real, it was like that. They meant a lot and still do mean a lot to me in my life and a lot of people's lives. So, yeah, just want to send that rest and love out to that brother.
It's just unfortunate, too, because they just got their catalog back. So they'll be streaming soon. Yeah,
man.
Sucks.
Next month.
Next month. Yes. Gosh.
Funny how life works, right?
Ain't it?
Yeah. It is. Yeah. You're right. So on that note, thank you guys. Thank you guys so much for joining us today. Of course, you guys, get all your guys' info and such. We're gonna be doing this again, right before the playoffs. So if you guys can, we'll let you guys know. So again, you guys stay safe, enjoy All-Star Weekend, and stay safe, and we'll talk to you guys soon.
All right.
Much love to everybody, man. Peace.
All right.
Peace. Thank you, everybody.
Thanks, guys.
All right, y'all. Love.
You too.
All right. That was Josh Hicks from Warr Media and the Bigs. You got Eugene McIntosh from the Bigs as well. Also, of course, our buddy Big Dave Watson from CHGO. At CHGO Bulls and such. So I know we're way past time, but it was for a good occasion. So you can follow me at McGee on the Twitter and at Kino's Criminal on the IG.
You can follow yours truly, Sydney Brown, on the Twitter and the IG at SidKid80. Once again, at SidKid80. That's SIDKID80. That's SIDKID80. We also like to thank Miss Kaitlin Sharkey for joining us on the program today. She was on with us earlier. You can catch the rebroadcast right here on YouTube, or just search for us on Sports Zone Chicago, or type in Second City Sports as 2ND City Sports on the YouTube as well in the search engine boxes. You can log on, search for our show as well. And you can catch us at Warr Anchor on our podcast version. We'll have this broadcast as well. Lakeena, always love when we do panels, but this has probably been the best one yet.
Oh yeah, definitely, and great stories. Also, some great opinions from stuff that we didn't even plan to ask. So
exactly,
I love how that works. Absolutely. Our buddy Mac Peck, unfortunately, he wanted to kind of unplug from the Bulls, and I can't say I blame the way they've been playing lately. So
we still got love for him, though. We still got love for him.
We still love him, and of course, we'll try to get him back on during the playoffs as the guys we saw today. So enjoy the All-Star Weekend and college hoops, and of course, got the Genesis Invitational going out west. Of course, Tigers back over there now. I think he's right within his trekking distance as well. So a lot of sports, this weekend and such. So of course, also too, you can catch us on Sports Zone Chicago on Roku TV. Of course, just check, look it up on our page of whatever smart device that you got. Type it in Sports Zone Chicago right there with you. Our show, Sean and Maya. What's up, cuz? And the Smoke Fellas. I know they're going to be talking a lot of NBA this weekend as well. So, busy sports weekend this weekend, folks. I know the football's over, so you can concentrate on both college and pro hoops. So, for Sid, I'm Lakeena and Second City Sports on Sports Zone Chicago, and we'll see you guys Monday, just time for the President's Day weekend. So, stay tuned. We'll see you then.
Stay in school. What's the rule? Stay in school. Never mind. Till Monday. Holla!